It is day number 2 here of Contenders China's Split 2 playoffs. I am Labosco, joined by the one, the only Thibbledork. Thibble, welcome, your first Contenders broadcast, and we have an awesome day number 2 for you. We have Team Chaser versus Billy Gaming for the first game in the winner's bracket. Then we go down to the lower bracket where we will have T1W versus First Fabulous Fighter. We're going to eliminate a team today, but Thibble, welcome.
Yeah, you couldn't see me earlier, but I was rubbing my hands together. I'm so excited to finally get to touch all the Contenders gameplay and whatever other metaphors we want to start talking about. I'm excited to be here. This is so cool, and we have some amazing games coming straight at you today, starting out with that Team Chaser versus Billy. These two super high-powered teams, academy teams with tons of great resources at their disposal that have really been showing up and in this knockout phase and showing us why they deserve to be here. Team Chaser with that crazy reverse sweep of T1W yesterday, just consistently showing us, maybe took them a little bit to kind of warm up, get the rust off, or whatever, figure out these hero pools.
Yeah.
But once they got running, And BLG, of course, have been so clean. Our number one seeds coming into this, hardly a surprise to see them doing what they're doing, where they're at. This meta and these hero pools seem to favor them pretty well. So it's kind of like a clash of two different styles, right? You have the super clean, super composed team, and then you got the drunken brawler, like I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna throw a table at you, and that is going to make for such an interesting clash in this first game.
Now let's take a look at the games that we have coming up here. See the bracket in front of us now, and you can see how both of these teams got here. Billy Gaming winning 3-1 over that First Fabulous Fighter, and then Team Chaser winning 3-2 over T1W to send them down into the losers bracket. And, Team Chaser coming in this time too, Thibble, is actually the 3 seed in this tournament, where they were the 2 seed last time, but these two teams meeting up again. They are our first game, and then First Fabulous Fighter T1W will be the later game today to see who gets to go home first. And let's not forget, if you haven't been paying attention or you're just joining us, we are doing hero pools here too for Contenders China, same as what you've been watching in the Overwatch League. Reinhardt gone for the tanks, Sombra and Tracer gone for your DPS, and then Zenyatta is gone for the support. So Thibble, when you look at that, you were kind of talking about it a little bit there, but this has been a bit of a mix-up because they've only had 2 weeks in the regular season to play in this hero pool.
Right. Yeah. Certainly not a lot of time to really get prepped or evolve their strategy, kind of develop a meta with the hero pools out. You can, of course, kind of watch the Overwatch League teams, and both of these teams specifically can reference their parent teams, as it were, to kind of talk about strategy, figure out how you approach a meta that does not have these heroes, especially considering a lot of these teams really enjoy running Tracer and Sombra and more than their fair share of Reinhardt as well. Zen as well, he has his place, but I will say there have been other supports kind of outshining him, in my opinion, at the moment. But yeah, that whole like limited amount of time to get things prepared factor is really showing itself in these teams. It's showing like, okay, which team has the structure to adapt and to like teach their players and help them understand what they need to be doing and how they need to be playing. And you're kind of seeing in real time how well these teams can really approach what is otherwise a very new wrinkle for some of them.
So now, for some who don't know, you actually work for an Overwatch League team. So is that going to help you with you adjusting for your predictions? Because we're going to take a look at that now. And Thibble, we've got you at the bottom of the board here. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not too far behind you. I'm kind of in the middle of the pack. But, we see here that you've got to make up a little bit of ground here.
So, full disclosure, and allow me to explain. I work for an Overwatch League team. I work for the Florida Mayhem. I am their social media manager. I am not an analyst. I am not a coach. I am in Plat. So, I'm kind of learning as we all go. And that means that sometimes I will say in the first week I totally just ego picked First Fabulous Fighter, and they were like one team fight away from winning and make me look really smart, and then they just didn't. So a couple things not quite going my way, but I'm doing my best. It's my first season in Contenders. Cut me a little slack. Not to mention,
of course, you're the rookie. We gotta give you a little bit of the ribbon.
Yeah, exactly. But consider if things go my way, I will not be last anymore. Door will. And that sounds just fine to me. So we're going to hope that we actually nail this because if we don't, yeah, I'm going to be, I'm in the hole at that point.
Well, Moxie on top, but more importantly, who will be on top and find themselves in the grand finals between Billy and Team Chaser? We know for Team Chaser that one of the big questions that everybody had coming in, Thibble, was Aprita going to be a player that can be a factor? You know, he's not going to be on the Tracer. What difference does that make? And so far, Team Chaser, they have had a pretty good success, and we get to look at the who they're going to have here. It's been pretty consistent from them. Tyro Cookie and Aprita have been the DPS. X-Ray, Late Young on the tanks, and then Lengza and Kyo have been the supports. But again, Aprita, one of the main people of focus, but was also a large part of why they were able to beat T1 and find themselves in this winner's final.
Absolutely. Yeah, like we discussed at length, we were almost kind of worried for Team Chaser coming into this. Like, are they going to be able to hang without Tracer in the meta? Like, Aprita is more than happy to stay on Tracer no matter what, every series in and out without changing. So we were worried, like, does Aprita have the flexibility? Does he have the mechanics to make it happen? And so far, that answer has been, yeah, he totally does. He's been playing a lot of great Ashe and Hanzo, you know, taking advantage of kind of the longer sight lines of some of these maps that we've been seeing, like Junkertown, for instance. And in general, the team has been working very well around him. They're giving him resources, not overly so, but enough to make sure that he can hold his own when being pressured from another team. And just as well, because BLG, the other team in this matchup, loves to apply that pressure to some long range heroes, some people who think they can just kind of hang out in the back. BLG are happy to go, no, dude, that's not how this works at all.
Now we can take a look at their roster, which for them, the DPS lineup is going to be Alpha Yi and Pineapple, 800 and Kodomo for the tanks, Hyun Jae, and also Irony as your two supports. And when you look at this roster, one of the things that stands out from at least the quarterfinal games to lead into this winner's final, or the semifinals, I should say, was Alpha Yi playing a lot of Echo and being very dominant. And we know DPS is sort of the driving force of this team. And even though you don't have as many of those carry DPS picks, Alpha Yi still made it work.
Yeah, and the thing about Echo being in the meta, regardless of any hero bans or comfort picks or anything like that, is that there's so much flexibility there. So Alpha, in addition to just being a fantastic Echo, probably one of the best, if not the best, Echoes in this bracket right now. He also has insane versatility with his duplications. Obviously, you expect like a tank duplication, adding that extra beef and like cleave damage to the front line, but that's certainly not his limit. And he has tons of flexibility there to pick something that might surprise you or that might work really well in a particular scenario to bring out an edge where otherwise there would not be one. Pineapple as well, also insanely flexible, bouncing around all sorts of different heroes in the matches that we've seen from him. Obviously, that's no surprise to anyone who's been watching this team go. Pineapple is like the driving force in terms of flexibility on that attacking line.
Yeah.
But 800 and Kodomo as well, just a fantastic front line, really well coordinated together, especially on a Winston Diva sort of setup. They are perfectly happy to nail some nano boost engages or move forward and support their DPS who are trying to play aggressively. And that style and this meta in turn suits Billy so well.
Yeah, and 800 hasn't really had to flex too much. He's been playing basically Winston the entire time for the most part. But it's just funny to see. We've seen from the Overwatch League that it's very important to have an Echo, it seems like, in the meta right now. But Team Chaser has not done that, hasn't had to do that. And here they are in this position. And then Billy on the other side has been playing a ton of the Echo. And then some Genji from Alpha Yi has only been the thing we've really seen him flex on. But that may not matter depending on the maps we go to. The first map being Lijiang Tower, higher seed pick. So this was Billy's pick here for this one, Thibble. And when you think about Lijiang Tower, I mean, there's a lot of good options for any of the compositions Billy wants to play. And I think Team Chaser might be all right with going to this map too.
Absolutely, yeah. Control maps in general are really, really flexible, especially as you look at the individual sub maps. Basically, we're starting here on Control Center, which is what we often consider to be like the weirdest map, air quotes, in terms of compositions. Like you're more likely to see stuff like all the things we're seeing right here. Let's take a look at this real quick. We got Alpha E on the Doomfist, Pineapple on the Sim, maybe just for the early teleport.
Yeah,
But then you've
probably.
got Aprita on the Junkrat, which is a very common pick on this, with Taro Cookie also on that Sim. And then you, of course, have the Orisa Sigma tank line. I'm not surprised by that. These teams like to kind of set up and hold really strong in the chokes. And it looks like we are keeping the Sim on one side, swapping to the Reaper for Pineapple on the other.
Tyro Cookie keeping that on, using that gun to start and microwave down those shields out in front. Not able to get any damage onto any of the players of Billy, however. Billy controlling that high ground for the most part. Pineapple on the Reaper gets taken out when he tried to get away. So now advantage over to Team Chaser. They're going to put down the teleporter, move across, and Kodomo gets blasted by Tyro Cookie. This is all Team Chaser in the beginning.
Perfect engage there from Team Chaser. A nice pull from X-Ray. You saw Pineapple going, oh, I'm in a very bad place and I need to get away. But you're pretty vulnerable as a Reaper when you're, repositioning. So Taro Cookie doing really well to enable the mobility of what is otherwise not a very mobile composition. Some great sim TPs and now a nice setup, but Alfie with the open pick.
Having the ability to get behind that coalescence from Irony, and they are just melting down Team Chaser, forcing them back. Rocket punch in. Alpha Yi with 2 quick eliminations gets the point back over, so 28% gain for Team Chaser at the beginning, Thibble.
Yeah, and Doomfist, since the earliest days of Double Barrier, of Orisa Sigma especially, has kind of been the answer because he doesn't care about barriers. He doesn't get stopped by them. He punches straight through them, and whatever's on the other side, oh boy, you better watch out. Now Billy have lots of ultimates coming online here, but it looks like Team Chaser does too. No one's really pressed any Qs yet, so this is where it's going to start to get spicy.
And it's almost as if they heard you say that. Out comes the Riptire, gets
yeah.
a double kill right at the beginning, and Team Chaser will just waltz onto the point. Alpha E dropping in on the Doomfist, but only to get halted in and then taken out by Tyro Cookie. So a great counter punch from Team Chaser.
Taro Cookie's sim has been a delight because he's not just like, I have a teleporter sitting over at spawn. It's like, no, nothing personnel, kid, but we're going to send a giant exploding tire into your backline, and we don't really care what you do about it. And that's really giving Billy pause. Like, they have to figure out how to approach that because otherwise they're getting juked. Their ankles are being broken.
Well, now it's time to trade back. Billy coming in with their ultimates. We'll get one player off of the Gravitic Flux. Superchargers down from either side. X-Ray does take Alpha E down, but this is still Billy with the advantage for the moment. Pushing forward is 800 behind the Coalescence. Another quick Coalescence from Irony as they will now have control of the point for Billy. Still have to get the flip almost to 70% for Team Chaser.
Right, and this is the stall coming in here, just getting whatever percentage you can. Billy cleaning up, though, which is exactly what they needed to do. These tanks holding strong, but not for too much longer. Hyunjo there with the boot, over on Kyo. 800 on the Orisa has been pretty good so far, but I kind of think X-Ray has had a bit of an edge. I mean, looking at it now, Billy just won that fight, but X-Ray in general, like, he's been getting really good pulls and setting up really well for Late Young and for Aprita as well. But now, recontesting, they might have a little more trouble. We got to see if Taro Cookie can get them in with a good teleporter, or if Billy have gotten wise.
And they got to be careful, too, of the Reaper ultimate, the Death Blossom available, but Aprita finds one of the main healing sources for Billy, so now they're already behind the 8-ball. Team Chaser now can get aggressive if they want. Alpha Yi trying to make the aggressive play with the ultimate, can't make it work, and now they can take their time for Team Chaser, get control. They do lose X-Ray in the meantime, but this is their point to take back.
Alpha Yi just wants to mosh so hard. He wants to get in and just flail his arms and hit anyone he can, but there are so many targets and so much health, and he has so little support when he's off on his own. It's really tough to make something happen with that. He uses his ultimate, he doesn't really get anything off of it, and they're going to keep this pick, and I think that's fine, but I think he needs a little more support or needs a little more communication to actually capitalize on that pick.
Well, they got to deal with the tire, they can't! Aprita with the triple kill from above, and it's Team Chaser with all the ultimates in their favor, points still in their control, and they will take the first point. They couldn't stop the tire at all, and Chaser just had plenty of everything else behind it to win this first point.
You know, a casual 5K from Aprita. We were talking about being worried about him. I don't know why we did that. I think we're supposed to know what we're talking about. Why did we ever worry about this guy? He is popping off. The Junkrat, I don't know if he keeps that. Looks like he's going for the sim. Again, maybe for an early teleport, we have no idea. But in general, I mean, what a round from him. His tires consistently getting value, combining with Taro Cookie and the teleporter just to like juke and break ankles wherever he can. Like that was a fantastic run of Control Center from Team Chaser in general. So cohesive, like really well coordinated. And Billy, you could tell, were really on the back foot trying to figure out what to do, and they never really figured out a solution.
They didn't, but now we get to move into something that's more in their comfort zone here on Gardens, because now you have the Echo in the sky for Alpha Yi, you have 800 back on the Winston, so now we see if X-Ray can handle going against where 800 is pretty strong, and already we're seeing a lot of damage in Alpha Yi with the beam, gets Langston down. Tyro Cookie will trade back Pineapple, so both DPS out on either side still have a 5v5. That point control at least is staying for Billy at the moment, but now starting to get aggressive is Team Chaser to try and push in. Late Young, high charge, takes Kodomo down, loses their life to Alpha Yi though, back and forth, control finally going back over to Team Chaser, as they will have control of the point first.
Yeah, when you look at Echo, you often consider like kind of like a spam hero, like Farah, you know, just kind of sitting there throwing whatever those things are she's shooting out of her fingers downrange. But Alpha U's true strength is as an assassin. He comes in, you know, when someone's half health or less and tries to avoid the McCree. God, I feel that as a Flex DPS player. And he really just makes the most of his focusing beam and of his little sticky bombs to try and pick off low health targets before they can even react. He is so good at that. So really keep an eye on him to just do the quick little cleanups and instantly turn a fight. It's insane what he can do.
Pineapple going down first again, though, for Billy, so they got to be careful here. They are throwing out ultimates, have the nano boost on to the Primal Raging Winston. 800 is making it work, does get slapped, but he's done enough with the ultimate to keep the fight in favor of Billy. Team Chaser is going to have to try and get out if they can.
Right, and a little expensive there from Billy, but they've, you know, they have some ult cycling through. It shouldn't be too big a deal. You're halfway or so to the Death Blossom, pretty close to the Grav, which you can combo for tons of value with Winston or Echo or you name it. Team Chaser, though, this is their first chance, basically, to try and make something happen with their ults, but Aprita goes down too early.
Irony sneaking a shot in on the Ana to finish him off, and now for Team Chaser, they're on the outside. They've got to wait. It's already up to 71% for Billy.
I mean, the only positive there is that was obviously very fast, and you just kind of
Yeah.
back away, and you don't use anything, you don't worry about it, take 10 seconds for him to get back, and you go again. But you have to be really careful of all the spam, because that's just not the Ana. That's everybody throwing stuff down range to get that pick on the Aprita.
Annonade forces out the rally. Pineapple goes down early in the fight again, but Gravitic Flux will pull players in. They try to capitalize, and Alpha Yi will take out the Brigitte. Tyro Cookie will try using the ult to try and get something that's the Death Blossom that will get more for the side of Team Chaser, but it's overtime. They've got to keep this going. X-Ray coming back in after the Primal Rage to help finish this point off and finally get a flip in favor of Team Chaser.
I mean, it's as close as could be, right? It's barely staying alive here, basically 2v1ing to finish that out. Lots of ults committed on either side. The duplicate coming out from Alpha Yi, both DPS ultimates and the Primal from Team Chaser. I mean, pretty much everything that was available was used. But now, Billy have all the time in the world to build up a nice little ult advantage, get their support ults and that Primal online, and just make something happen. Team Chaser are in the hole, so they really need to play this safe, be careful, and establish an ult economy early.
Well, throwing out the self-destruct to the wind, and they will lose X-Ray after it. So Pineapple giving their early advantage over to Billy. They haven't had to expend a lot of their ultimates, too, to get this advantage, so they're setting themselves up to just get this point, take control, and force us to go to a third point. Tyro Cookie coming in aggressively, gets the elimination onto 800 to get this at least even, and Billy still fighting for control. Sleep onto Tyro Cookie, who got his ultimate, has to try and back away, can't get out is the problem. And the Death Blossom used by Pineapple, but back on the point, you've got players coming back for Team Chaser to try and keep this going. Not going to work out, though. Pineapple comes back in with those Hellfire shotguns, finishes off a few more players with the help of his friends, and they will eventually get control back. And now, can you keep the overtime going if you're Team Chaser?
Looks like that's a no.
Nope.
So tying it up here on Gardens, we're going to Night Market next for our final round, which is a very interesting set map. Might see a little more Orisa Sigma, but anything's possible. We've seen X-Ray on the Wrecking Ball before. I wouldn't be too surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
But we will probably see more of Alpha Yi and Pineapple on this Echo Reaper that they love so much, that everyone really loves so much. Some people are calling it Neo Goats and saying they don't love it, but I think they're just, they're struggling, man. I get it. The scars never really heal. Um, Team Chaser, though, they had moments there, but it just looked like obviously in that last fight, right? You throw out the self destruct, Billy move in right behind it and take down X-Ray while there's no defense matrix. There was nothing they were able to do to protect X-Ray from the sheer front-loaded damage. So they kind of have to work on their ult timings a little bit and make sure there's enough support there to make those plays happen in those off moments. Because Billy loved to move off tempo and throw you off your game.
Maybe a little bit easier of a point to keep things in front of you a little bit more. You don't have as many of the angles, or at least they're not quite as straightforward, but Alpha Yi doesn't care on this Echo, making a difference for Billy Gaming, and they're going to chase this D.Va down. Oh, Reaper's in the back line too. That's okay. We've got an Echo.
It's funny too because I've noticed now that since the D.Va remake changes have gone through, the concept of staggering has really changed. Like before, they probably all would have like hung out around the baby D.Va and tried to like body block her and be annoying, but now she's a threat, which is always really interesting to see.
True.
So Team Chaser now trying to figure out kind of how to reapproach this. They want to take the high ground, but already irony with the coalescence, like they have already a pretty sizable advantage positionally and in terms of ultimates. So Team Chaser, this is a real tough nut to crack for them.
And now you have to come into the sticky bombs and the focusing beam from the Echo, who's about to get ultimate for Billy. Team Chaser trying to force their way through. They at least now will have the opportunity to attack. They'll throw out the Anna Nade. Doesn't manage to hit anybody on the side of Billy, but they cannot kite effectively. Kodomo ends up going off the map. Really impressive, slow, methodical take by Team Chaser to get themselves back into this fight and give themselves an opportunity on Night Market.
Oh, the boop, though. That was pretty nice from Hyunjae. It doesn't look like it'll do too much, but anything's possible. And yeah, like you said, great patient play from Team Chaser there, but it looks like Billy are happy to recontest this.
They use their sound barrier, too. They're coming back in. They're trying to keep control of this point, but they still have it, building up to 60%. Pineapple comes in with the Death Blossom, gets one down in Kyo, so you're missing the Anna, and now the Brigitte's gone, too. They have a chance to turn this around for Billy. Kodomo being the one to get that, coming in, looking for the kill on to the Reaper, and then throws the self-destruct out after losing mech. They still have control of the point, too, for Billy, keeping themselves alive in this fight somehow, and now we're at 83% already.
Yeah, that was just about as bad as it could get for Team Chaser. The sound barrier coming through. Again, Billy loved doing off-tempo engages. Team Chaser totally think, oh yeah, we won that pretty cleanly. We should be good. And Billy go, but what if we just came back in instead? What if we just recommitted? And suddenly Team Chaser were off their game. They tried to like scramble and recommit. And now Billy, we're already at 99%.
They're not scrambling either. They've got themselves a Coalescence, an 800 with the Tesla cannon in front, making it pay off. You have on the point X-Ray, but it's just X-Ray and a whole team of Billy to take them down, stop these players from getting to the point, and Billy will take map number 1 here in this winner's bracket final.
I mean, as clean as you like from Billy, right? Especially on that night market. They did so well in terms of just establishing their position, really forcing Team Chaser to have to think and take time with how they wanted to engage. They even establishing high ground control was not enough because they were so ringed by Billy, and there was so much spam just by the nature of the composition that you have to sit there and like, okay, we have to make sure we're topped off because if we go in at half health, Alpha E is just going to melt us. And all that time that took, combined with that like fight that they thought they had won, but then they didn't, there was nothing they could do. So Billy totally had their number there on Lijiang, and they're playing about as well as I would expect them to.
Now, it is the map pick for Team Chaser. We obviously, the discrepancy between what both teams want to do, right? Like you see the enclosed composition working super well for Chaser, and then Billy playing that Echo Reaper to almost perfection to win both of the maps, to win both of the points, to take the map. So what is the thought process here for Chaser to maybe give themselves more of a chance against this sort of composition? Where do they want to go? What sort of maps?
I feel a map like maybe Junkertown, something that allows for long sight lines and hit scan and cover to avoid the spam. Um, I mean, it's tough to say, right? Because Alpha Yi can play the Echo fantastically, but that is not the only thing he could do. We've seen him swap to heroes like Genji to apply pressure
Hmm.
onto Double Sniper. Like he's got the pool to kind of make that happen. So how do you kind of mitigate the guy that is he's not the carry because I think everyone on Billy is doing very well, but kind
Hmm.
of the guy that you figure is going to be the most front facing or the most problematic. And it looks like the answer this is another map that I kind of would expect them to go to is Dorado.
Right. So that'll be map number two, similar to what you were talking about with Junkertown, as far as sight lines being something that you could take advantage of to make it harder on the life of the Echo. But for Billy Gaming, the one thing that stands out to me that you were talking about is how it's not just Alpha E. Like Alpha E is the one sort of being the enabler, but everybody on the team has been doing really well. And that was one of the things that when we were talking about Billy, that we thought we needed to see if they were to be successful here in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. And seeing, flexibility is never a bad thing, assuming it isn't like a solved meta. And then at that
Mm-hmm.
point, like, why are you picking, like in goats, why would you pick something that wasn't goats? But we're not there, thankfully. Thank goodness.
Not,
Like,
not quite.
not quite. Yeah. Let's
Pretty far
see
off.
how that, yeah. There are some slight differences in the game that
Yeah.
maybe make that happen. But yeah, like you said, it's good to be able to find the answers on the fly, have the options around to
Mm-hmm.
help you adapt to a map that is very different. Like Dorado, that has these long sight lines and everything like that. You see Pineapple over on the Ash, Aprita swapping to the Hanzo, which we've seen before, kind of maybe thinking about it. We don't really know. And 800 just dancing, just vibing on the roof. I'm like that. I get that.
Of course.
More spam coming out. This is about what I expect, though.
And again, Tyro Cookie going to be the Ash. Aprita will be on the Reaper, so not playing this Echo composition again. And we'll see how they can handle it with Team Chaser. Have the drop in by 800, diving back out. And Aprita will be happy to just take some alt charge while the cart progresses here at the beginning. And now the drop coming back in. A little bit of charge for Kodomo and then jumping back out. But now here comes the counter dive from X-Ray. A lot of damage in, keeping up. Didn't go down to the sticky bombs and is able to be healed back up. So far it's just been trades.
Yeah, smooth engage and good trades there from Team Chaser to get them past that first corner. Chasing down, there goes 800. That was a really nice kind of follow-up there from Taro and X-Ray. But they're up pretty far now, so they have to be careful not to overextend too much, or this fight will end very quickly.
Well, they're keeping their distance, and Billy throws out the nano boost onto Alpha E to try and keep this contest early on this point. Extremely low as X-Ray doesn't go down, but Aprita will fall for Team Chaser after 800 manages to come back in and get some revenge. And now Alpha E will throw that ultimate out there, duplicates the Zarya. Really just did it seems like, for the health pool to stay alive, because this is all Billy Gaming.
Yeah, I feel that was definitely a safety play. I frankly don't think he needed that too much. Sure, you stay alive and you throw a funny grab, but
All right.
maybe would have saved that for another fight. But hey, water under the bridge at this point, and Kodomo's about to have a grab of his own too. So there's still plenty of tools for Billy to work with. You can throw Bob out there and rally in case things start getting a little sketch. Team Chaser, on the other hand, they have a rally of their own coming up, as well as a Primal and Bob. Aprita not far from the Death Blossom, but he's not getting a ton of value all the time. It feels like sometimes he'll try and jump in, and the rest of the team isn't quite there.
And now they got to try and deal with the Bobs coming out on either side. Tyro Cookie just avoiding that Bob. 800 going down early in the fight again. Graviton Surge, though, equalizing everything. Tyro Cookie answering right back. So still a fight that can go either way. But they're trying to back out on the side of Team Chaser because Alpha Yi is still alive and still dealing a ton of damage.
Yeah, is the fight won? I don't know. Is Alpha Yi still alive? Yes? Then it's not won yet. Team Chaser using quite a bit there, a little closer to their Death Blossom. But again, besides that pick onto 800, Aprita did not do a ton in that fight. This composition from Team Chaser really wants to take it to the front line of Billy. But then the DPS and the supports are both happy to hang back. So sure, you might get up in the tank's face, but you're gonna get picked off at range like that. So
And now
it's
they have to
tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
and now they have to wait. That's more time on the clock. Kodomo getting
No.
Taro Cookie. Like
What?
all these little staggered out plays are because BLG are happy to run a composition that is fine at range and that can support their tanks that get up in your face at range. It doesn't matter. You don't need to be running right together with each other because a Reaper would love that. A Reaper would love a Deathball style composition. But Billy are fine playing split. You see Alpha Yee's up front, but where is everybody else? They're all over the place. And that's fine. That's what they want to be doing. And so far, it's working very well for them.
Aprita just got his ult very recently.
Mhm.
Alpha E already having another ultimate, and Pineapple getting close to another one too. Zarya duplicate again. Pineapple going down to Taro Cookie, so making a difference there. Graviton Surge getting thrown onto the cart, gets Alpha E out of the ultimate, and now the Death Blossom will get value, and the cart will start to go. It took a long time though. It was 20 seconds before the timer was out here for this first point, but they will get to the doors.
Yeah, it took a long time and it took a lot of resources. You effectively had to get a pretty good grab from Late Young and then walk up as a Prita and just press Q, which is great. That's fine. Like a grab Death Blossom combo is one of the oldest in the game. It is a true combo. Late Young, I feel that so bad. That happens to me. But yeah, like it takes so much to make that composition work, and when it doesn't, they're just burning time off the clock. So with this high ground control possible, I kind of want to see how Team Chaser approach this, because right now with all these sightlines, stuff like that, Alpha you getting that kill onto a Frida will quickly become the norm.
And you have a super high charge Zarya on the high ground. Taro Cookie threw out the Bob here in a little bit of a desperation play. Not working out because everyone is falling on the side of Team Chaser. Billy in control again with the high ground, and they've got these players stuck in between players on either side, and there comes the focusing beam in. They throw out the Nano ultimate too. They use the Nano boost from Kyo for Chaser.
Yeah, okay. So I feel like they're just throwing all their eggs in that front-loaded damage basket. That Aprita X-ray engage with a grab to have follow up from Late Young if he can get it. But that's not enough. You see Aprita now good. Swap over to the McCree, something with a little more range to try, especially something to poke down Alpha, who has been completely uncontested basically. But now, like, not a lot of time to work with here in the streets. You only got a couple ultimates online. Billy rotating through theirs pretty well. This is still a tall order for Team Chaser, and I feel like this compositional swap maybe should have happened a little earlier.
Well, and they only swapped the McCree, and this is something that they did on Nvani. If you watched yesterday, this was a switch that they did for Aprita that did pay dividends, but they don't have a lot of time for it to pay off now. And there's the focusing beam again with the nano boost onto Alpha Yi. Aprita can dance all he wants, getting taken low. Oh, Alpha Yi has to be a little bit careful. Has the teammates come and help out finally. But still, this is looking perfect for Billy with only 37 seconds left. They do lose Alpha E, but they won the fight.
Right, and he can be back pretty quick, and he has his ultimate too, so he's got plenty of options to engage on this next fight. There's also the grab and the bob coming through from Billy. Team Chaser have a lot to work with. This is probably their most stacked fight so far. There goes the high noon, never mind. I don't even know where that went. But you have a bob, you have a grab, and you have a nano boost coming in. So there's plenty of engaged potential there if you can coordinate it well and if you don't get picked from range first.
Yoonjae did get taken down on the Brigida, but there's enough time for Yoonjae to get back before this fight even starts. Aprita gets hit with the anti-nade, has to be a little bit careful now until that ends. And while that's happening, out will come the ultimates from Billy. Alpha Yi with the punch on to X-Ray to get the elimination. Kodomo getting the kill on Kyo. It's everybody getting involved for Billy Gaming. The Bob on Team Chaser's side can do nothing but watch as everyone falls around and the overtime meter goes away, and Billy Gaming have set themselves a perfect win condition to take a 2-0 lead in the winners final.
Yeah, really solid defense there from Billy. Exactly what we were expecting with the sort of composition they like to run. Some nice long range, spam it out, get in there. Don't let them establish the foothold they want style of play. Team Chaser really focused, I'm not even looking at the hero picks individually, but they really focused on we need to like get clumped in their faces and just deal tons of front loaded damage, which is great if the other composition isn't full of highly mobile airborne potential heroes that can just avoid that instantly, you know? Bit of
Yeah.
a mismatch there in terms of range and mobility at a macro level, at a fundamental level, that really kept Team Chaser out of a lot of fights before they even got started, unless they had a huge ultimate advantage or lots of combos to work with, like that grab Death Blossom or a Nano Winston or Reaper engage. But even those weren't guaranteed because Billy knew exactly what Team Chaser wanted to do with their composition. Now on their attack, they don't need a ton to really get through this. That's about halfway through Streets phase.
Hmm.
Very doable. We see teams finish this map relatively often. So if they get some good opening picks, there goes first point. Maybe there's 2 or 3 fights for first point, and then after that, maybe you get an ult advantage rolling. Like Team Chaser need to be on this, or they will get steamrolled, and this map will be over.
And they did decide to go with McCree at the start for Aprita and Tyro Cookie on the Ashe. So picking DPS that maybe you would be more in favor of, especially when we know that they're going to go against this Echo and the Reaper on the side of Billy. Nice anti-nade onto Kodomo, getting him low. Not able to finish that off, but that will slow things down a little bit here for Billy Gaming. Late Young will make sure to stay safe. 800 will now go and dive in, but staying safe as well. It's that little bit of back and forth here at the beginning of Dorado.
Yeah, and Billy happy to play this patiently. They don't really need to worry too much. They're at spawn. Oof, yeah, there's stuff like that can happen without them completely panicking because they're at spawn and they have the opportunity to re-engage. They're pulling out an ultimate from the Predator. Sure, why not? I feel like that's
Aprita built it up in like 2 seconds, so I'm not going to be too bad at him for using
yeah,
it, right?
we're not even hitting a minute on the time bank. There it goes right now. So I guess I shouldn't be too harsh, but at the same time, I was like, what? What was that? Sometimes you go for like that Pine, like Deadeye reload just to like style on people, and I can always respect that. So that's fine. But like I said, Billy still have tons of time to be patient and make their way through this point, but they still want to get moving because it's very easy. Just as it's easy to finish this map every now and then, it's also pretty easy to sometimes get full held on this map. And that is not what you want to have happen. You have so much momentum here. You do not want to slam on the brakes like that in such a key series.
Yeah, snail's pace only works if the other thing that you're going against in the race is a snail, so don't want to go too slow, and they do get a little bit aggressive here for the side of Team Chaser. X-Ray gets slept, though, with the nano boost, so that negates that ultimate. Late Young extremely low, but Aprita and X-Ray combined for 2 eliminations, but now you have Alpha Yi coming alive, getting things back even up, and 800 diving onto that backline, trying to make life absolutely difficult for the Team Chaser supports, and now Alpha E throws out the Winston duplicate to try and keep this going. They're actually struggling a lot. Chaser's still in this game, and in this point, there's a nice elimination. Maybe they have enough to get this going for the side of Billy.
Very back and forth here, very even. Remember though, it's more even than it was, but Billy still have a pretty sizable spawn advantage, I would say here, and they are happy to push forward regardless of how won or lost the fight is. They want to keep taking that space to prevent the recontest. The quick grab onto Lengza and Late Young completely isolates them, and they're starting this fight 2 men up.
Self-destruct thrown out in desperation, won't be able to do anything except force some players back, give a little bit more time over to Team Chaser, but time is something they're running out of because the point is taken. 3 minutes and 40 seconds is all that they have for the side, and Pineapple finds Aprita on the Widow, made that switch over, and it's paying dividends.
I mentally cursed them because I was just thinking, man, Pineapple hasn't necessarily gotten a ton done on this Widow. Like he's providing good support, but I'm not really seeing him light up the kill feed. And there he goes again. These 2 opening picks, all of a sudden, Team Chaser, how do you even establish a defense here? And you're really only going to get 1 shot. It needs to count, but can it count?
Pineapple really close to the headshot on Kyo.
Yeah.
That one was scary for sure. That you almost could have written this one over if that would have happened. But we are in potentially the last fight territory if they can't stop Alpha Yi coming through with the nano boost. 2 down already. The counter dive coming in. Late Young will at least get Pineapple out. The Widowmaker pressure is gone. The duplicate coming through from Alpha Yi. What a play to win in the McCree battle, and then uses the ultimate to get the point and get the win. What a way for that one to end for Billy off of a play, off of the guy who's been the guy for them throughout this run so far on Alpha Yi.
That is, we call that a wow. That is all I think I can think of to call that because man, talk about going for style points there at the end, right? Like he
Yeah,
I think he saw his life flash before his eyes there, and he was like, "What can I do about
press
this?
Q.
I'll just press Q."
I,
It's usually the answer in Overwatch. Let's be real.
I hope that the highlights has the I don't know if it will, but if the highlight has that play at the end from Alpha Yi, because I don't know if it was the ultimate that stopped the flashbang from Aprita, because
I think it did.
if Aprita gets the elimination there, it might be going the other way.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that would be kind of your opening condition into that defense for Team Chaser, right? Like Alfie is such a menace. If you can just take him down, you can finally focus on the rest of the team, which is just kind of a testament to how Alfie has been playing so far. But yeah, when you duplicate, because this ultimate is insane, you basically get like super armor. For anyone that plays like fighting games and stuff or Smash, you basically just get like a frame of invincibility and it's wild. So yeah, he timed that I think perfectly to avoid the flash. Came straight out of it, dinked him immediately in the face, and then did well all the things that you just saw him do, which were insane.
Insane. And now we're at match point two. I'd already gotten kills before that, but it's just the two players that have been getting a lot of talk between Aprita and Alpha Yi, just watching that happen was absolutely nuts. But now you're really deep in the hole for Team Chaser, but this is nothing new for them. This is what happened when they played T1W.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the reverse sweep starts now. Sure, that's the rallying cry I've had to make a few too many times.
Oh,
There
it
it is.
was. It
Nasty.
was.
Yeah, he timed that. He waited too. He waited that half a second or so, and that was man. That is a guy who knows his Overwatch for sure. But you're
That's
absolutely
crazy.
right though. Like this could be the beginning of the reverse sweep, but man, they got their work cut out for them because Billy are playing lights out right now.
They definitely do for the side of Team Chaser. We'll see if they can dig out of that or if Billy will be our team that will first advance to the grand finals here for the second split of Contenders China. We'll be back here in just a moment. We welcome you back here for this winners final between Team Billy and Team Chaser. Billy Gaming currently with a 2-0 lead, one map away from advancing on to the split number 2 grand finals. Labasco here alongside Thibbledork as we get ready for our next map. Thibble, we're going to Hanamura.
I dig it. You can only get to a 7-map series by drawing a couple times. And what better map to do that on than Hanamura? Everyone's favorite game mode. I'm actually quite excited to see Hanamura here because I think both of these teams will really be put through their paces in terms of what they're trying to run. I think Team Chaser's composition can work really well here, that like dive and get in your face, because there's not as much space, I should say, to kind of back up and take your time, because that whole time you're backing up, you're giving up the point. So you kind of have to get in there and start brawling it out a little bit. But at the same time, there's still plenty of space, especially on this first point, to kind of spam things out, have those high ground, long range angles. So both of these teams, I think, could do really well here, or they could just draw.
And you can still play the echo on either point. Like you don't have to switch it if you, on the second point of Hanamura. So you're not completely out of what's been making you successful for Billy. But I mean, this makes sense that Chaser goes here. I mean, you can make the compositions they want to play work a little bit easier here. And you can see early on, we just get those a lot of Diva defense matrix there to make sure those sticky bombs don't get anything for Alpha Yi at the beginning. And now we'll see how this dive works for Team Chaser as they now try and, well, first they just want to make sure they get through the choke.
Right, you want to get through the choke and you want to start pulling out cooldowns from people, right? So you want to say, okay, we forced Winston to use his bubble, so we have a window now to move forward without it. The Pineapple getting these like super covered shots. I love this angle from him. This is awesome.
Nothing they can do on the side of Team Chaser. They did get Kodomo down, so you'll lose out on a lot of that charge for the Zarya. But they've been able to keep everyone else at bay. Aprita goes, so does Late Young, and you know, if you only lose your Zarya, I think that's a trade you'll take for Billy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's no big deal there. Like, sure, Zarya is not the fastest. There is a bit of a window here from Team Chaser, but they lost enough as well that they can't just immediately roll onto point at full strength. So I think this will kind of even out for Billy. I don't think that's a huge deal. And they have some ultimates coming online too, especially those support ultimates. They're way ahead. Irony and Hyunjae have putting on a clinic this game.
Hirokoki just trying to get through the bubble that's in the way. Aprita able to get in, but has to use the raid form. Does find an extremely low Alpha Yi, who goes down before the ultimate can be used. But again, it's Pineapple on the flank, not being contested, able to just snipe away and make the difference for Billy.
And what's funny is that that's not even a flank, that's the point, but it
exactly
becomes a flank when all the attacking team is trying to do is kind of tuck into that cover on the side. It's so difficult for them to do that because of all the spam in a confined space, but then if you take your time doing that, you're completely exposed. And so far, no one has really put any sort of pressure on Pineapple that has forced him to do anything but just fire down range. So Billy looking super strong, very confident here, but lots of ults on either side, really. The main difference, actually, is that there's no rally for Billy. They used it last fight.
Pineapple still staying alive, throws the Bob out. Kodomo, though, takes Aprita down at the beginning, using that Nano boost to great effect, forcing Team Chaser back. And Thibble, you said there's no pressure on Billy, but there's definitely a lot of mounting pressure onto Team Chaser as they lose themselves another fight and only have 1:28 minutes left to go to try and get something on Hanamura.
Yeah, I was promised a 7-map reverse sweep series, and if you get full held on Hanamura, that maybe statistically puts a damper on that. So I'm going to have to ask Team Chaser to maybe step it up a bit. To their credit, they only used the Primal in that last fight, so they still have tons of tools available. But Kodomo with this grab and Alpha Yi with this duplication could do a ton of work all on their own.
This has got to be the moment when it happens. Now to under a minute, a lot of ultimates on the board for Team Chaser. Bob will be the first one thrown onto the point. Out comes both the support ultimates and the nano boost going onto Aprita, getting aggressive onto those players on the front line for Billy. Tyro Cookie finally coming through to get Yoonjae, But the Graviton Surge
it is.
coming back to counter it, and the self-destruct from Alpha E gets the elimination. You do have to worry about the point. You have the Brigitte there, but that's well taken care of by Pineapple, who never has gone down on this map. Team Chaser now in desperation mode, 20 seconds left.
Are they even going to be able to touch? You see Lengza swap over to the Lucio. I think that's fine. You see Kyo also swap over to the Moira. So they want more survivable, mobile heroes to help them get onto the point and stick there. Aprita on the Reaper and Taro Cookie on the McCree. This is a thorny bush. They just want to get to the point and say, come to us, but you're not going to make it there unscathed. But they still have to touch.
And they have a Bob that they've got to deal with on the point. They at least get the touch, but X-Ray will lose his life as a result to it. Billy Gaming eliminating everyone on Team Chaser, nobody with a chance. And the first team into the grand finals for split number 2 is Billy Gaming, a 3-0 sweep to get there.
We're not quite there yet. Hold
Almost.
your horses there, bud.
I am a little excited. You're right. We've got a whole other thing. We're not in quick play. We're in comp. What am I doing?
Yeah, no, these are comp rules. I frankly cannot blame you at all for calling that early, because that looked about as dominant as you could get. I think statistically here, we're looking at a pretty likely finish to this series right now, very soon. But I still kind of want to draw. So, I'm not gonna call it yet.
Here's what I'll say. I did like the biggest caster curse possible.
That's absolutely true.
So,
you know what? Thank you. See, we're still working on the same wavelength here. I want to draw. You just cursed it really, really hard. And I'm sure all the Billy fans are yelling at you right now.
And if they are, and I understand, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
But Team Chaser, this is what they're going to go to try and keep this alive. Try to get the draw. Try and keep the game going.
And it's certainly a tall order, right? Like you have Taro Cookie, who could certainly try and do the thing that Pineapple just did and just fire down range. But I think Billy might know kind of exactly how to deal with that, given that it's a strategy that they like using themselves. Meanwhile, Aprita's still on that Reaper. They're perfectly content not to use the Echo, but I can't help but feel that that's a bit of a compositional weakness, a lack of depth that is maybe hurting them a bit, because this Echo is doing so much. And even with that big bio nade, there's plenty of space and plenty of time for Billy to work with.
Kind of reminds me of Team CC when they were the dominant team. They needed Spectra to come into play Echo. See if that ever happens for Team Chaser. But right now, they're not worried about getting somebody to play a Echo. They've got Late Young on the front line and Aprita making things work, at least for now, for the side of Team Chaser. But X-Ray goes down in front of his team. It's a huge loss, especially because now Billy can come recontest in a 6v5.
Yeah, Team Chaser cannot be taking those trades because Billy are more than ready for the quick re-engage here, and the spawn is so far away.
No.
Aprita goes down as well, picked out from range and then finished off by Pineapple, and this is a rough spot. This might be it already.
They've got 2 players down, waiting for at least one of them to get back. X-Ray just about back into the fight, but everybody's so low, and Alpha Yi coming from behind on the Echo. Graviton Surge pulling them in for Team Chaser to try and keep them in it, but it doesn't matter. It's not enough, and now Billy Gaming advances on to the grand finals, a chance to win not just split number 1, but split number 2 as they make their way back.
Yeah, I mean, a repeat victory is looking not real likely, but certainly very possible, given the performance we just saw. Team Chaser, pulling a very close win against T1W, but then turning around and immediately getting slapped into the pavement by Billy. This was a statement win for sure, because pulling out something like that against a team, third seed or not, still a very well-established academy team with tons of resources at their disposal, that sends a message. So Billy definitely proving themselves the team to beat, definitely proving they are confident in this meta, regardless of any hero that is banned or whatever. They have no problems running what we saw them run that entire series, what we're seeing in the Overwatch League, basically as close to an established the meta as we can get. Billy have no problems, and that is such a boon for them in this tournament and in this entire season in general.
And to no surprise, too, a lot of the highlights we're seeing are obviously going to be Billy, but Pineapple just on the Ash, able to just shoot away, not a lot of pressure because there's too much pressure from the front line of Billy to make anything happen. So hats off to Billy Gaming for this one, but Team Chaser, now they find themselves in the lower bracket and they've got to wait the winner of our next game in T1W versus First Fabulous Fighter.
Man, you know what could happen? Like, what's a very possible thing that could happen is that sweet, sweet Team Chaser T1W rematch, which could also go the distance. I mean, and Team Chaser, if they kind of pull it together and keep things going, they could end up right back in the grand finals. But now they have to slog through. Now there are two other teams gunning for them, and we're about to see those two other teams go at it.
And we'll see which one of those teams will be able to come out on top and meet them there. Can First Fabulous Fighter play upset and get themselves in a better position when it comes to playoff time? Big boy playoff time we're talking about, not these playoffs, obviously. So don't go anywhere. That's what's next. Come back. T1W versus First Fabulous Fighter coming at you soon. time to head down to the losers bracket. The first game of this one, second game of the day, though. Labosco here alongside Thibbledork as we get ready to find out who will face Team Chaser in the losers finals to advance on to have the chance to play Billy Gaming in the grand finals. And this one between First Fabulous Fighter and T1W should be a really, really good one, Thibble.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting matchup. Like looking at the numbers on paper, you might kind of think like this might be a little one-sided, but I think both of these teams, in classic Chinese contenders fashion, have no problem like throwing out some curveballs and just getting a little weird with it. So we saw kind of two teams that were very rigid in their styles in that last one. Billy happy to kind of run what we consider to be the meta right now. Team Chaser running their spin on it, let's say.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but FFF and T1W both kind of have their ideas about, very specific ideas, I should mention, about how they want to play the game. That might work out very well for them against the other, or it could end up being another Team Chaser throwing a Reaper at a Graviton situation and seeing what happens. But we kind of just got to wait and see. We've made our predictions. We kind of have some ideas about how this might go, but nothing is set in stone. I certainly hope my prediction comes true, if only to pass Door. But we'll see.
Well, you're lucky because Door did pick Team Chasers in the last game, so you're now tied. So obviously, we're not looking at the updated one, but that's fine. But because we know in our heads, we know in our hearts what happened. But Door has a chance if First Fabulous Fighter does somehow find the way to win this one, even though it's heavily T1W favored. If the one winner does not win, then you're back out of it there, Thibble.
Not only will I be last, but Door will be insufferably smug about his massive brain prediction, which he deserves. He deserves that.
If it comes true, yeah.
Yeah. Like I'd let him own that. I'm not going to be like, shut up. But like, I probably would just point out that he also did pick Team Chaser. That didn't work out for him. But we'll see how that goes.
But regardless of that, we hope that his voice is doing much better than it had been
also
the other
true
day.
Yes.
So just shout outs to Door and hope that you're feeling better, buddy.
Yeah, rest up.
Let's take a look at Fierce Fabulous Fighters roster because they are the first team we're going to look at here. We know that V's and Top Dragon are going to be the two DPS that we're going to see throughout this game. Mocha and Riven are their tank line, and then BLX and Kama will be the starting supports for today. We've been seeing a lot of Clear as well. She's been coming in too.
Right. Yeah. I imagine at some point in the series, Clear will make an appearance, but for now, we are starting with Kama in that flex support role. V's and Top Dragon have been really nice for this team, like lights out in their moments when they really get to shine. You're seeing good soldier play, some really nice McCree coming out from V's as well.
I like their jackets.
Yeah, the jackets are also.
I just wanted to point that out. They're pretty fly.
This is great. Yeah. No, it's been a long time. I'm up in the big house now, so I don't often get to see as much of the tier 2 merch and the tier 2 scene in general anymore. But tier 2 has some amazing merch. I don't even know if you can buy this stuff, but like shout out to FFF for like dressing their players well. Riven especially, he looks super clean. Looks like he's ready to go be in a music video. I'm all about it.
Well, now
the headband is nice.
Yeah, the headband is pretty cool. On the other side, for the one winner though, we've had a very consistent 6 from them, and it's been a very good, consistent 6. Akite will be one of their DPS along with Night God, both very talented players. Hetlot and Jasper for the tank line, and then Raindrop and Physics rounded out for the supports. And this is a roster that has been growing a lot. I mean, T1W, a team in the past that kind of, they were able to win one season of Contenders, but this is completely new roster, and we have been watching them evolve as things have gone on. And with that, we've also seen some of the hurdles that they've had too. I think the match that they played yesterday against Team Chaser, a good example of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for a team developing its mental capacity, its capacity to withstand boomage, as we call it, I believe, as the kids say. And T1W certainly are a team that are looking to develop that sort of skill. T1W as an organization has a history of a high performing roster with a really strong core that was around for a long time, and they've since completely rebuilded, losing players here and there to the LA Valiant and other rosters like that. But the new team that they've established, with a really strong coaching structure and, a focus on, I think, adaptability and just playing like a cerebral sort of mental style of game has
Mhm.
served them really well. But when you play a mental sort of game, you have to protect the mental. I don't know if there's any metaphor I
Always.
could use for this, but yeah, in general, you want to. But especially with this team, right? If you're playing like the thinking man's like chess game, if you get thrown off, suddenly you just tilt really bad, and you can start to lose that momentum as quickly as you build it, which is kind of what we saw yesterday with their game against Team Chaser. So for
Well,
T1W, I think the focus has to be just keeping a level head and playing your game.
I've got another way to put this for you. Pressure is something that's mounting on this team as they get closer and closer to being a team in high contention, right? So there's a lot more pressure on them, and pressure does one of two things. It either causes pipes to burst or it creates diamonds. So which way is the one winner going to go? Are they going to be a team that falters under the pressure, or are they going to be a team that shines? And that's something we have yet to really see them really get to that point that we want to see. But Nepal is their map choice and where we're going to go to first. So maybe this will be the start of that to get them into that losers final to try and get some revenge for what we did see happen to them prior in just this playoffs right here against Team Chaser.
Yeah, there's something to be said for losing a match you were totally supposed to win, air quotes supposed to win, and then coming into your next one just angry. I think the team most famous for doing that is the San Francisco Shock, um, because when they lose, it's pretty rare, and they get very
Mm-hmm.
upset about it, and then they make my team feel really bad about themselves because they just come in and they just wreck. So I'm looking to see if T1W can kind of turn that momentum, use your hatred for power and all the other Sith stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for them, and getting onto Shrine here, this is an interesting opening composition. I like it though.
They are going to be with the Echo on the other side for First Fabulous Fighter. They do not. So FFF on the high ground first, though, is the only difference. So they have that high ground advantage. Have the Reaper coming in. Bees will take advantage of Akide turning around and now trying to deal with that Echo on the side. Hetlon, in the meantime, will take Top Dragon down. So not able to get too much done. Only a player gone on either side, but on control of the point right now is where the battle is coming through. Night God getting closer and closer to building up to that ultimate already early on in this first fight, but can't get around because Bees is there watching the flank to make sure Night God can't get into aggressively, and the point finally goes over to FFF.
Yeah, lots of V's keeping Night God honest there, saying, "Yeah, I know you want to be up in the air and just spamming down, but I'm really not going to let you do that. You're going to have to position a little more smartly than that." And you see him now tucking behind, duplicating onto the Orisa to establish some control on point.
Threw that shield down in front too to get onto the point, but out comes the Gravitic Flux, does a lot of damage, but there is the Immortality Field to keep everybody up, and Akide can just push forward with both of those Orisas on to FFF, and they will take this point back up for the first time. Get 35% for FFF.
Yeah, great re-engage there from T1W. Really patient, just happy to back up a little bit, stay in cover, then jump in with the flying Orisa from the top rope. I don't think anyone has ever seen that coming. And suddenly they're back in control on that point. And just that little bit of time spent is all they really needed. Now they have some great ultimates to continue holding this. First Fabulous Fighter really have to try and find an opening.
Have to use the sound barrier too to make sure everybody can stay alive and aggressive into that supercharger on the other side. They quickly take care of it for First Fabulous Fighter, hitting aggressive in front, but Jasper throwing the self-destruct in, gets the kill on Nakama, and T1W maintaining control.
Yeah, a great job there just to kind of get the, serendipitous diva bomb. It happens. Sometimes you totally think you're safe and then suddenly you're not. Kama with that opening engage beat, I get it. But generally, I'm not a huge fan of engagement beats. I think they're better used to counter out something like the increased damage from a supercharger or an amplification matrix, like giving you that extra beat in the middle of a fight rather than at the beginning. So let's see what they can do now.
We have both teams using their windows, trying to get something out of the amplification matrix on either side, not able to do a whole lot. Both teams will just walk away from it. You know, gentleman's handshake there now will come through those. Top Dragon with the Death Blossom will only get the Immortality Field, and now Gravitic Flux being used. Riven will get one with his, but it's a bigger one by Night God. Gets one now on top of the Lucio, throws out the Accretion Rock, misses, but doesn't miss with the melee or the focusing beam. Gets that.
Ooh, the heals.
Wow. Alive. Good heals coming out on the side of First Fabulous Fighter, but T1W almost at this first point.
Yeah, great control here. You see Akita swap over to the Soldier, maybe worried that he wasn't going to be able to get back in time, but now he's effectively stuck on it. Meanwhile, you see Mocha swap over to the Wrecking Ball, but he's already getting caught out. He's got to be careful. We're in overtime.
Can't lose this point. Mocha coming back in on the Wrecking Ball, like you said, will at least get the touch. Bees will get headlocked with the ultimate on the Deadeye and forcing back the rest of T1W, but they're going to stay aggressive. They throw down the amplification matrix to stay in this fight, keeping players alive as Physics just trying to keep everybody in. Jasper throws out the self-destruct. Night God goes down, but not before the sticky bombs get a kill. Players being traded on either side, but the sound barrier coming through from First Fabulous Fighter to get them the advantage and flip the point back over.
That is exactly the kind of sound barrier I was talking about after Kama used his first one. Using it in the middle of the fight, giving you that last little bit of beef to like get you over the hump and win that fight decisively. Yeah, you use it at the end, but I still think that was a reasonable use. Now Akita swapping over to the McCree, and we have closer to a mirror, let's say, but Mocha still on that Wrecking Ball can kind of help prevent T1W from getting too comfortable of an engage.
They do have the supercharger, though, that they can be aggressive with, and that's exactly what they do. Have to make sure it stays up, already half health, and they haven't gotten anything out of it is the only problem. And now they're getting pulled into a Gravitic Flux from Riven. Massive Gravitic Flux, too, forces out the Immortality Field. And now they've got to kind of slow things down for T1W. Raindrop, though, now can get back aggressive, and they will throw out Night God on the ult. Have Top Dragon getting 2 kills. They were too focused on V's, who is using the ult in front. Death Blossom in from Top Dragon to get them this fight. 86% too, and this is a massive loss for T1W.
And a great job there from FFF's DPS line to effectively just run a little pincer Top Dragon there on that rear end flank. Rear end relative to where the fight was happening, I suppose. But this suddenly, you know, halfway through the round is a great turnaround for FFF, and it's almost the round.
They will have to come through mines, too, to get onto the point. Mocha throws them down. Immortality Field out extremely early. Akita able to get a kill on the Kama, though, so they lose out on that main support. BLX answering back. Physics going down. So much healing lost. Out comes the Deadeye. Can't get it off, though. Goes down to Riven, but it's too much. T1W back into this fight, controlling the advantage. Have to get rid of the McCree and V's. Do so. Oh!
Wow.
Oh, they go. I thought I didn't see it flip over. I was like, no, they didn't give it up. Mocha couldn't get there in time, so T1W will take that.
Yeah, at that point, right? It's such a long overtime that you have barely, you know, a fraction of a second to stay on the point before that round ends. So as soon as that switch happened, as soon as T1W managed to flip it over, that was it. Mocha on the Wrecking Ball was close, but not close enough. Now we're getting over onto Village, which can play quite differently compositionally. It doesn't look like we're seeing too many changes coming through. The Sim could stay. It could just be for a teleport. And Night God on the Mei.
They like to run the Mei.
Yeah, we haven't seen this a ton lately in like the Overwatch League since last stage. But it is a very common pick on this map, made famous by NYXL and Dallas Fuel in 2018.
And still gets a lot of play because of how useful it is on that point. And we're seeing them get a very aggressive for the side of T1W, controlling the high ground first this time. And Jasper on this flank getting those hyperspheres in, throwing in a ton of damage, but his team getting aggressed onto. Mocha goes down, maybe a little too aggressive. Night God was ready for it. Jasper will be traded in kind. Same with Akita. It's back to in favor of First Fabulous Fighter. This has not been a clean fight ever between these two teams right now, and First Fabulous Fighter will get the first take on the point.
Yeah, very scrappy, about what you'd expect. Let's be real, this is Chinese Contenders. It's just how it happens. Night God making good progress towards his ultimate, but ultimately the the wall and all the utility that May provided was not really brought to bear most effectively because of where they were fighting on that map. There were not a ton of choke points to kind of wall off or provide utility for because they were in such open space. They want to get right here. This is a crazy free rotation for T1W.
Have to use the ice wall too to stop the
Ooh.
amplification matrix. Big gravitic flux, and Night God cannot be saved. No Baptiste on their side this time for T1W, and this is just a fight heavily going over the first Fabulous Fighter.
Wow. Yeah, I started that fight by complaining that FFF just let T1W rotate to point for free, which is absolutely what they want as with a May on the field. But they had a plan because Riven said, okay, they're all grouped up on the point. I'm just going to flux them. And that was a really nice gravitic flux, great follow-up as well. So all the answers you could ever want from FFF there. They have some tools to continue holding this point, but T1W, some tools as well to recontest.
Trying to force that fight on the point again, throw out the Blizzard, throw the wall down, and ensure that it gets off too, and the Blizzard will be effective this time. Death Blossom gets 4 for Top Dragon from behind, and V's will help finish it off at the end. T1W thought they had it in the bag.
You know, there are some fights that start off really well, and you think, oh, easy. Okay, we got this. That was a great Blizzard. We got so many people frozen. We're taking people out. And you kind of let your foot off the gas. You maybe don't turn around as quickly as you might have if that fight was close. And then suddenly, there's a Reaper in your backline. He's pressing Q. You all die. Great stuff from FFF.
And they can't hide from the Deadeye, so V's giving the advantage on 90% already. Sound barrier to negate the gravitic flux coming through, and they have the immortality field as an added bonus. Top Dragon is happy to go in onto these players, just trying to scramble towards the point for the one winner. They will now have to see a third point if they want to win this map, and for first Fabulous Fighter, looking pretty good, although T1W making it close as they start to come back in. They're resting on the Wolves maybe a little bit too much for first Fabulous Fighter. Gravitic Flux to keep this going, and now they finally will settle things down, say, no, this is still ours. You can have players come back in, but this is our point.
Yeah, a little blip there where you kind of wonder, oh, is T1W kind of maybe starting to bring this back? And then, no, they're not. They tried. Top Dragon, wow. Turning up on Village there. The great Death Blossom, but also so many like kind of on the fringe, kind of clean up kills, or some straight up in your face sort of kills. This is a Reaper after all. He seemed perfectly comfortable, very well supported as well. BLX was on him and the front line pretty consistently, and Kama was always making sure that FFF could get where they needed to make those fast counter rotations. So it was a great job, I think, from the supports to really enable Top Dragon and V's and Mocha and Riven. They're supports. They're supporting everybody, but
they're doing their job.
Right? Yeah. Imagine that supports supporting. We had to get to the John Madden analysis at some point, Loco. So there it is. The supports want to support the rest of the team. Congratulations.
It's not one of our. It's not a broadcast of ours if we don't want John Madden in there in some way. Boom.
That's right.
We just did it. So.
Yep.
We move on, though, to the final point here, and we can see a little bit different of compositions. Top Dragon having the Soldier 76 pick rotating around with his team. We're playing a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie here with T1W and FFF. Teams are on opposite sides of where they normally would be for this fight to start. The cap of the point, though, goes over to T1W. And a lot of pressure being put on by Akide. V's now trying to get aggressive with the Lucio. Throws that out, but Hetlot had the Fortify available. That 180 shot is nuts, but V's still will fall. Top Dragon giving an advantage over to FFF, though, and they can now start to push onto the point and look to take control, only give up 20%.
Yeah, I mean, 20%, you're not going to cry about it too much. Maybe a little more contention on that first capture would have been nice, but hey, what are you going to do? In general, like, this is exactly the kind of composition FFF want to be playing. Like, sit at range, kind of poke things down. We have a bit of a pause here, but, that just gives us time to chitter chat about what FFF and T1W are trying to do here. The Soldier Kree with the Wrecking Ball, I feel they're happy to play that Ring Around the Rosie sort of game. They want to be able to kind of move around, take cover, and then kind of pop out from a corner and just Top Dragon, as you saw, happy to be playing that sort of game. 70%
Yeah.
already towards his tactical visor. BLX too, getting some major work done. Physics matching him pretty well though, so we're going to see some ant matrices here pretty soon.
Also going to have the visor up here soon too, so tactical visor an option for first fabulous fighter. T1W looking to try and get that flip back over though. Top Dragon will pop the visor now, but Akide throwing out the bob gets a kill with it already, and there's nothing that can be done. Top Dragon had to play so safe, couldn't get very aggressive with that ultimate, and the window just wasn't in a good spot too.
Yeah, T1W, like, they have the longer, or an advantage at long range with the Sigma, with the Orisa, with the Ashe. They just straight up deal more long range damage. And V's was already down towards the middle of that fight where they started committing things and engaging. But now FFF have the chance to kind of speed boost in, play a little more of a Death Volley sort of composition that they might otherwise be okay with, especially with Top Dragon on the Reaper.
Well, they're at least able to force out one of the barriers, and now Riven will throw the Gravitic Flux up. Counter Gravitic Flux on the other side. T1W Immortality Field saving them. BLX will go down after the Immortality Field from first Fabulous Fighter. So Gravitic Flux getting a little bit more value for T1W, and they continue to build momentum now. Mocha desperately trying to get into that fight and at least take someone with. Not going to work out this time, and ooh, a stagger at the end onto Riven, and we're up to 73% for T1W.
Right, so we got a couple more fights here if T1W managed to maintain control. They have 4 ultimates coming online, Bob not far behind. Meanwhile, FFF not close to too much. They have the sound barrier, which they have used to engage before. I still kind of want them to save that and counter like a Death Blossom or something to that effect, but we'll see how Common decides to use it.
Well, they got to do something because it's 95% now for T1W. On the other side, Raindrop has used the rally, giving that armor over to a majority of the players on T1W. And now the ultimates start to fly, but it's the Death Blossom coming through from Night God, dealing so much damage into the core of First Fabulous Fighter. It will be T1W taking map number 1 to give themselves the early lead here. And it was pretty back and forth, though. First Fabulous Fighter did put up a pretty good fight.
Yeah, very back and forth, excuse me, there for sure. On Sanctum especially, it looked like FFF came in with a plan, and then their plan, got some holes poked in it, and then suddenly they didn't really have a solid answer. Top Dragon swapping to the Reaper makes sense. Reaper is being played quite a bit right now, but they didn't really adapt it enough into that sort of like, okay, we have a Reaper now, we need to start speed boosting in and kind of doing the things that Reaper likes to do to enable him in this composition that really centers around the DPS, that is enabling the DPS to make plays. Meanwhile, on the other side, you had Akita on the Ashe, tons of long range damage that could just sit there pretty as you please behind that Orisa shield, pop the Ant Matrix, and just call it a day. So T1W compositionally looking a little bit ahead, but mechanically, there are some pretty even fights going on here. So we've got quite the series on our hands.
And some of those fights in our final point there, to your point, as we're seeing the highlights here from both of these teams, were to that effect where you kind of had your Reaper on one side and then V's on the McCree on the other, making life just a nightmare for T1W. I mean, speaking of that, they did that really well on Village, where they just dominated. There was maybe one take for T1W on that one. So if that, I don't even think they got the one. Regardless, that was dominant from First Fabulous Fighter, and maybe something that gives them hope as we move on into our next maps. And it is their map choice here, as the loser does pick the map.
Right. And on Village, it made sense that they could do that because there's tons of cover where you don't need to really get out in the open to make plays, those pincer plays happen. But on Sanctum, on that last point, you got to go all the way around the pit. Everyone can see you coming. The Reaper's just walking up at you. And then suddenly, there's an Ashe on the field. So the Reaper probably just dies. So yeah, a little tougher there for FFF. I feel like they need to, especially looking at our next map, which is Junkertown. Yeah. I think they need to, if they're going to be running that Reaper, they need to be really careful and put in a lot of resources to make that sort of front-loaded pressure that Reaper wants to be bringing happen. Otherwise, he's going to get completely nullified. Top Dragon won't be able to do too much. Right. That said, I don't think they're going to be running a ton of that because this is Junkertown, so we're going to be seeing some snipers, some long range, some Ash, Hanzo. I would not be surprised to see that on both sides of this equation here, since neither seems to be running the Echo too much.
Right.
Yeah,
T1W played some Echo though, and
they
they've
did.
been
No, they
the
did.
team that will be more likely to play it. There is a change on a substitution, excuse me, for First Fabulous Fighter though. We can see that Clear has come into the game. So Clear subbing in, so it's BLX and Clear now as the support lineup. And defensively, we're going to get ourselves some double sniper, it looks like, from D1W.
Yep, I am not surprised by that at all. Night God and Akita taking up the long-range damage heroes, maintaining the same tank line, Raindrop on the Brig as well, and Physics on the Baptiste. More of what we expect. Raindrop's Brigida is actually pretty nasty. Meanwhile, on FFF, you have Top Dragon taking up the bow and V's taking up the Widow's Kiss. And almost the same thing on the other side. BLX on the Mercy, maybe just holding that in case there's an early pick that they need to res. With the spawn advantage as well, you can res as many times as you can swap off and back on to Mercy. So a nice opening advantage, but I don't know how long they keep it.
See if it does make a difference or not. You can see that one thing making a difference is always nice to throw some Storm Arrows in. Top Dragon, I think it was a little bit of a late switch there to the Genji. So we do have the Genji getting the Mercy pocket, which more common than I think people realize. It's very, very normal to see that, and something that First Fabulous Fighter did the other day too.
Right, and the Widow Genji to counter double sniper is not unheard of across this region and others. Genji just being able to do exactly this and apply tons of pressure. But Night God hitting his shots onto the tanks maybe kind of slows things down a little bit. Maybe Top Dragon wants to take his time. But BLX, right, on that Mercy, giving that res, maintaining the momentum and the pressure for FFF. And so far, the cart is moving along pretty smoothly.
Yeah, you forced out the res, but you really haven't done much else yet for the side of T1W, and then Night God falls to Mocha. So now they can get it more aggressive on the side of First Fabulous Fighter. You don't have to worry about those Storm Arrows anymore, and the tanks move forward. And the point getting much closer to being theirs for this first one. Nice little stall, though, from Hetlot, using Fortify really well to at least keep it going for a couple seconds longer than normal. First Fabulous Fighter, though, cruising.
Yep, yeah, giving enough time there to maybe open up a recontest at the last second, but a great flush there from FFF, moving around, rotating that left side high ground to make sure that the snipers couldn't just fire for free, which is very important, and it looks like we will have one last recontest.
Coming out quickly, but it doesn't matter. They didn't get that much players on, and then the Top Dragon falling over my own words here because he pulled out the Dragon Blade and gets another kill at the end with the pocket still on Top Dragon, just allowing him to freely do whatever he wants.
This Mercy is actually a really nasty wrinkle for FFF. Just providing that res alone, yeah, I mean, you know, I don't think it's any stretch to say that Resurrection is an extraordinarily powerful ability, even if it doesn't resurrect your entire team instantly. It really helps out. It's, you know, we could say it's pretty good. It helps prevent T1W from snowballing and establishing a defense, because you have to think, like, can they get a res off right here? Could they res Top Dragon right now? I don't think so. I think it's been too short a time, but still, you kind of have to reconsider how you approach when you have a Mercy going, and sometimes you just throw a dragon straight at her.
And it ends up working. Mocha actually walks into it, wasn't targeted at Mocha, but it ends up working out. Now T1W can try and gain this position of power on the high ground where you really force the team in First Fabulous Fighter to have to fight through very small chokes to get out of their spawn.
Yeah, a difficult recontest angle for sure, but they have the walls, so they know exactly where T1W are trying to set up, and they have a lot of other ultimates besides. Pretty much everything else you could ask for, which makes for a great engage here on the high ground.
Then they're throwing everything out to make sure they get through this too. Amplification Matrix, Gravitic Flux, pulling those players into the sky. But Immortality Field has negated all of this, and now they can get aggressive on the other side for T1W. V's will win the Widow battle, but at what cost is the problem, because nobody else has been able to do anything on the side of First Fabulous Fighter. And even though they haven't done a whole lot, they're not moving the cart for First Fabulous Fighter, even though T1W is still here.
I mean, the one positive as this Dragon Blade comes out is that they do have a lot of time on the clock, and it looks like this is just enough to kind of get things rolling. Night God gets the one kill on the V's kind of just as a parting blow, but that was a very clean engage there for FFF. Off the back of the blade, Yeah, the blade, the sights at the beginning of that fight, and then the supercharger as well. It's still working out though, right? Like this is still a good time bank to get through streets. You see T1W, you swap over to the wrecking ball to make sure that you can recontest, but already getting pressured. Like FFF know that they need to take space to make this happen, and so far they're doing a pretty good job.
Now the engage will come through for T1W. This is where they have to make it count. They didn't have a good engage on their second defense of the first point, but it's going much better this time. BLX already out, so you don't have the fear of the res. Don't even matter about the gravitic flux because you have immortality field to counter that. And now they have taken control once again. 2 minutes left on the clock, and yeah, they had a decent time bank, but they're already to under 2 minutes. If you make swaps, you got to make them now if you're FFF.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. You see V swap over to the McCree here. That 2 minutes generally established to be the amount of time it takes to build an ult. But man, BLX going down. This comp lives and dies by the Mercy. So much of it depends on the resources provided by the damage boost, that strong throughput healing, and BLX is fed up. He said, I'm tired of being focused out. I can't, no one here can really help me out because Clear's not about to start just nailing air shots with the grenades, right? So BLX really making sure that this team can kind of brawl it out. They just have a little bit to go to get to that point. So having a Brigitte there and really forcing T1W to start to play honest on the point could be the wrinkle they need.
They do force the players to stay back, at least for a moment, with the Dragon Strike. Doesn't get anything, but at least buys you some time. Top Dragon looking for an opportunity to get in with the blade. Now has the rally to try and fight through. Has to deflect first. Now swipes in onto Jasper. Immortality field way too late from Physics, but the fight is being won by T1W. Top Dragon not able to get enough with it, and there was too much firepower on the side of the one winner.
Yeah, like a good coordinated engage there from FFF. Like they definitely talked that through, but T1W had the answer for sure. Backed up really well. Yes, they lose Jasper there, but they, in exchange, a perfectly clean fight win otherwise. Just a good disengage there and use of cooldowns to mitigate what is normally a very effective ultimate if you're allowed to get some work done. Otherwise, it might end up like Hydration used to say, you press Q and everyone turns and kills you instantly.
Well, and now the problem is there's not many Qs available for First Fabulous Fighter, and Night God is able to get an elimination just cleanly off of that, dropping in through the window. A second kill, a third kill for Night God. Night God wants to end Junkertown here, know that they don't have a far push to go on their attack. Now it's just Mocha stalling on the Wrecking Ball for as long as possible, but that stall can only go for so long. Top Dragon from behind will get this overtime meter to stay, and Top Dragon gets a kill? That was a little bit of a surprise, but it's still not enough.
Yeah, the one cleanup, or not even cleanup, I guess the one, like, participation trophy kill is nice, but certainly not enough to start turning that around. That I would love a clutch 4v1 Genji nonsense play.
That would be nuts.
I love that as much as the next guy, but not going to happen. Way too many resources and cooldowns available for the tanks and support T1W, who were just kind of, they were just kind of sitting there like, yeah, okay, you got your kill. All right, we're ending the round now. You good? So now T1W, as you mentioned, right, this is a great position for them to be in. Getting halfway through Streets phase or so, not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, and it's looked so far like T1W really have FFF's number in terms of managing their engages and disengages, mitigating the effectiveness of FFF's ults and cooldowns, even though FFF are clearly, you know, communicating their engages, really going for these like coordinated plays. A coordinated play is it can only get you so far. That coordination can only get you so far, and a coordinated counterplay is sometimes all you really need to start breaking that apart. Then it starts getting into the mechanics of the game, just the 1v1s, right? Like once you jump in, it just comes down to, can your Genji pop off with the blade? Can your Widow hit the shots? Can your Orisa move the battlefield around to your team's advantage? And so far, T1W are coming out on top of those fights almost every time.
T1W has had answers for whatever has been thrown at by First Fabulous Fighter. They've handled the Dragon Blades really well, other than one. but that's it. They didn't need to handle every single blade as long as they handled the ones that were most important. And now they're going to go out with the double sniper again to go against what First Fabulous Fighter is doing, which is also double sniper. So we're going to see the double sniper battle, and you were talking mechanics. Well, here we go, mechanics v mechanics.
There's
and
one.
it's Akita coming out on top first on the Widowmaker.
Right, just getting the angles, trying to find, it becomes a chess game when you have a double sniper mirror, right? Because it's all about the angles. Where can you go to find a shot behind a barrier or out of cover or what have you? And so far, it looks like T1W again are coming up with the goods.
Talking about coordination, the flank from Night God couldn't be handled, but there's V's. V's is like, hey, I'm still in the fight. I'm playing Widowmaker. I can get headshots, and gets everybody back in for First Fabulous Fighter. What? Gets that
man.
shot onto Physics at the end. I didn't think Physics would pop his head out.
V's likes to break the laws of physics, so down he goes. Thank you. I'm here till Thursday. Tip your waitresses. Yeah, a great recontest. Basically, the only reason FFF are in this fight at all. He gets another onto Akita. Absolute dominance being established here by the snipers from FFF. Mocha as well getting that cleanup kill on the headlock and happy to push up, take some space. They really need to be aggressive to have an extra fight in the middle of this first phase rather than right there at the end where it can get a little dicey.
So at least doing better than T1W did at this point, because they did get that second fight and were able to stop the cart before it got to the doors. But the ultimates now are going to be the factor. Hetlot throws that down immediately. V's again, though, is able to get Physics out of the fight early, but advantage is still over for T1W. Mocha staying up, though, could be the difference, especially now Amplification Matrix from behind from Clear. She's trying to force the players to look at her, but the cart is just going away from where she put that amplification matrix down, and T1W is like, that's fine, we'll keep pushing the cart. Akita will go down, and V's again, being a difference maker to keep them in the fight for First Fabulous Fighter, but T1W still working through it. Gravitic Flux, Dragon Strike, don't matter. Cart is theirs. They get it to this point, and now they have 4 minutes to get to the golden box of victory.
And that is quite the time bank to get to a distance like that. You see Mocha swapping over again to the Orisa. The ultimates coming through from FFF right there at the end, I was a little sketch on, because now they have absolutely nothing. T1W just coming online with the walls, like that's not huge, but it is an information gap for sure. And T1W have to try and make really just one perfect engage, so that ultimate could be the crux on which they do so.
All it takes is one, and then you can hold that super, super difficult choke. But they didn't get the same early hold that T1W did. Akita just waiting with his infra sight, just waiting. Never going to get the peek from V's, though. V's, thinking better of it, smartly enough, and the high ground control still over for First Fabulous Fighter, and they have to deal with that somehow for T1W. Now V's knows the infra sight's over, can start to peek out and start to put pressure on.
Yeah, you saw that little dance behind cover. That's the, I know you have walls and I know you can see me, here I am. V's now, though, getting some shots, but Night God also answering back. Meanwhile, Raindrop in the front line, getting some kills, and Akita, oh man, this is just about all over.
Somebody has to do, they can't even get there. They couldn't even contest. It's a 2-0 lead for T1W, and now their life is on the line for First Fabulous Fighter. They are just one map away from being dropped out of this fight, and also not having the chance to pass T1W up as far as points, because these teams are really close to each other.
Yeah, looking at those point differentials as we head towards the end of season playoffs, these matches are so crucial. You need to be placing high to make sure that your point totals are up there and that you have insurance from the person below you, because those teams are hungry too. They want to try and get into playoffs, even if they aren't necessarily making the knockout stages right now. T1W, though, just look like they have FFS number here. So many great plays, such a good separation of FFF's efforts to have those really coordinated engages. It feels like T1W see those efforts and go, yeah, that's fine. but we're going to just rip that into tiny little pieces and not let you do anything. And sure, you might be hitting your shots, you might be winning some 1v1s and getting some flashy plays, but if you can't get enough of those to combo into a full team fight win, meanwhile the rest of your team is, getting death by 1,000 cuts,
Hmm.
that map is still going to go not your way, regardless of
Yeah.
how, great of a Junkertown you might have had.
And that's sort of what happened there. V's did everything that V's could to try and make it close for first Fabulous Fighter. Just wasn't enough from the rest of the team. But they got to find something. They've got to. Otherwise, they are done for this split number 2 playoffs. So we'll see if they can do that when we come back. Playoff life on the line for First Fabulous Fighter. It's Labosco and Thibodeau back with you. 2-0 in favor of the one winner. T1W so close to getting a chance to face Team Chaser once again. They've just got to win one more map. And Thibault, if history's anything in this tournament, we know that they've had trouble closing things out. That's what happened. They were up 2-0 against Team Chaser, and they let it slip through their fingers.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if I'm T1W, I see the 2-0 scoreline, and I'm thinking, not again. Let's not let this happen again. Like, it's so important. T1W have looked great, right? Like, they're playing really well. They totally have FFF's number here, but you can't get complacent. You can't go, those first two maps were easy. Easy 3-0 is coming. Don't even worry about it, because the moment you do that, well, you and I might be here a little longer than we might think we're going to be here.
Well,
so,
listen, it's been a pretty quick day, so we get an extra couple maps. I won't be upset about it at all. But let's see what that next map is and see where they think that they can maybe start to turn this around for First Fabulous Fighter. Volskaya Industries, Thibault. We haven't seen the Echo too much from T1W, but like, this is a map where you can definitely play the Echo.
You can, but especially on first point, there's still tons of space for long range. You're seeing, from the defense already, you're seeing Hanzo Ash, which is about what I expect.
Makes sense,
Echo, Night God swapping to the Echo. Okay. Yeah. No, this makes a lot of sense. And the Mercy Pocket as well. Yeah, from Raindrop. Maybe seeing BLX doing that. Or maybe this is just kind of the flavor of the day here on Volskaya, where you can sit back at long range and just pocket and pocket and pocket. Meanwhile, on the other side, instead of BLX on the Mercy, you have Kama actually on there. And then Top Dragon on the Hanzo and V's on the Ash, trying to just have some long-range contention available to them.
Quick to point out, by the way, clear, she's out, Kama back in. So good pointing that one out, by the way. And now we get to see the doors open, and it looks like they're staying with this for First Fabulous Fighter, too.
It looks like it for now. Top Dragon, kind of hesitating a little bit. I think
thinking about it.
Maybe he had to readjust his mouse or something. It happens. Mocha here on the Wrecking Ball, though, he's going to try and kind of flush out these high ground snipers. But already you can tell Akita kind of has his number, knows exactly what he's doing.
V's just being patient, though. They got players going around onto that high ground where that Mega Health Pack is. So trying to get control of that for First Fabulous Fighter. Hide knows that he's going to have to back away, go back with the rest of his team to safety. Night God being very careful right now. Oh, V's and Top Dragon get a kill each simultaneously. You can only res one of those. Akide the choice, and it doesn't even matter.
No, that was, I would say, I'm not the highest level player on Earth, but I would say that res was less than advisable. I just feel like FFF has such a good window open, and they were basically just able, like you said, to come around, kind of set up where they wanted to set up, establish themselves on point, and by the time T1W came around and like, oh, we need to right the point, we need to go recontest the point.
It was too late.
FFF had every angle you could ever hope for. You saw Top Dragon just kind of lazily throwing arrows down. I'm making a little lazy bow motion. And those shots were all he really needed to suddenly turn that fight. And now 5.5 minutes for the second point. FFF in a commanding position. Maybe we will be here a little later than we thought, Lobo.
Well, they get another quick elimination from Top Dragon onto Physics, so you already have the res out for the fight, but Akide answers back. Kama's going to have to try and res that one back up. So we have no reses on either side, but we do have a Dragon Strike that will force players away. V's gets taken down. Ash is gone on either side. Self-destruct had to be used by Jasper to keep that, but Bob is out from V's, and Riven using the Gravitic Flux to keep those players in Bob's sights. And this is looking super good for First Fabulous Fighter. They are in control, almost with a tick already.
Yep, the res coming through from Raindrop, trying to make something happen. Jasper looks like he's not going to be able to get back in the mech. You'll hate to see it. Top Dragon, there's just too much. There's just a perfect ring here from FFF, and it's all T1W can do just to try and establish some sort of angle on the point. And Akide gets his head ripped off. But
in the end, this actually ends up being okay for T1W. They've at least stalled out enough where they have reinforcements, and they can now try and take this back they only gave up 33%. Riven's still on the point, has those mines in front that he's just waiting for somebody to try and get through. Night God quickly using the ultimate to not go down, uses the duplicate onto the Sigma, and will finally force Foley for the retreat from First Fabulous Fighter.
This is peak 2CP lull, my friends, because it looked like FFF just had the complete download, totally surrounded. It's like in a cowboy movie where they're like, come out with your hands up, and they're like, ah, man, this is gonna suck. But suddenly T1W had the answer, just like a good cowboy movie, I guess. You always have the answer for the 6 people standing outside your barn or whatever. Man, I don't know where that metaphor was going, but T1W staging a very, like, improbable in my eyes comeback there, just off of a couple stray picks here and there, and of course the ever-friendly spawn advantage on 2CP defense. Now they have a couple tools to work with. The support ults coming online, as well as that supercharger and the self-destruct as well. FFF though, I mean, look at the ults for them. You got everything you could ever ask for except the minefield, but you know, they're not an insurmountable loss.
Well, not when you've got as many ults as they do, and Bob has worked pretty well for them so far, got them the first 33%, will lead them in with the Dragon Strike as well. First Fabulous Fighter trying to force out, they get the Immortality Field, get Physics down too, wow. And the ults are overwhelming for First Fabulous Fighter. This time, Self-Destruct in desperation, but that's all it is, a desperate play to try and stall this point. 2.5 minutes onto the clock for First Fabulous Fighter. So not the massive time bank they maybe thought they could have had for First Fabulous Fighter, but I think they will take this as a consolation prize.
I mean, 235 is still not bad at all. And that last fight especially, we often say, you know, if you're not winning a 2CP fight cleanly, you're not winning the fight. And that was about as clean as it gets. I feel like I blinked a couple times and then suddenly everybody was dead. And the team kill horn was sounding, you know, so FFF, like,
a little different than the normal team horn, but yeah, I
well, you know, it's a mod. I have audio mods for Overwatch. Yeah, wow, like what a turnaround there, right? Like FFF had plenty of like bright moments in the first 2 maps, but looked consistently like they were maybe getting outgamed in the neutral, as it were. But now on Volskaya, on that attack, like they had such a great like coordinated plan on how to approach their engagements. They were very patient. T1W really only staging one properly full defense there on that second point before basically just kind of being overwhelmed. So it looks like FFF came into this map with a plan. This was their pick. Obviously they know what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it. Let's see if they can maintain that here on their defense. More of the same compositionally from them. And T1W, they're looking like they're swapping over to the Reaper here. And Raindrop on the Lucio. So they want to rush around. They want to move fast on these engagements.
Try and overwhelm whatever players they can find on the side of First Fabulous Fighter. Taking a similar approach as to where they're going. Obviously, they don't have the same range as First Fabulous Fighter's composition, who can poke them out a little bit more and has that Mocha to sort of be that harasser, to be that distraction. But you already have, moving on to the point, Hetlot, Jasper blinked and was gone. BLX finishing that off, and they are just kiting away by First Fabulous Fighter effectively, similar to how we saw T1W try to do. Now they get aggressive, though, for First Fabulous Fighter, and if you're a T1W fan, this is starting to feel like it did the other day when they were playing Team Chaser.
Yeah, the frightening shades. We'll say time is a flat circle and everything just ends up repeating itself, but T1W definitely don't want that to happen. And just like you said, it looks like suddenly now the shoe is on the other foot, and FFF know exactly what T1W are trying to do. They have that download, and they have the perfect counter. Kiting away, happy to just kind of play Ring Around the Rosie, and as soon as there's that one-man advantage, they strike. They come right in decisively on the point and win that fight easily. Now T1W trying to make that rotation happen again, but FFF, again, backing up, establishing range, poking things down, and using ultimates.
And now they have a Bob that they can throw out, and it's just shooting ski. It doesn't matter. V's too much to handle the Bob, sending them in the air, skeet shooting at its finest.
You know what we should do to get over there to those people with the long range, high impact damage? Walk in a straight line down a narrow bridge. I think that will really work. And T1W, I see what they're trying because if they have the speed boost from the Lucio and they have like the beef of these tanks and their barriers and the front loaded damage from a McCree and a Reaper, that's a sizable force. But if you just let FFF hit their shots on you, that's still going to crumble. So they really need to think really carefully about their engages because it's still pretty easy for FFF to counter that style of play right now.
They got out an immortality field too with one ultimate, so they now have a huge advantage over T1W for first Fabulous Fighter. And now the Deadeye from Akita will get Kama, so now this is maybe their opportunity to turn this around. They throw down the amplification matrix too, forcing these players to stay behind that shield, but they can't get anything else out of this. And Jasper gets pushed off the map by Mocha. Mocha goes off too, so now T1W finally has some sort of an advantage and actually building percentage on the point, but it's not over yet.
It's not. It looks like there could be a recontest here, maybe give up another tick and try and figure out how you want to approach. You can see T1W trying to kind of take that space preemptively, and they do dodge the flux pretty well. But there are still some openings here for FFF.
And they forced out the sound barrier with the Gravitic Flux. You'll take that trade because you still have the Bob that's going to be coming out here soon, but Jasper does have a Gravitic Flux of his own. Night God gets caught out though, so now you're seeing this start to unravel, but Hetlot will not let that happen. Amplification Matrix doesn't matter if nobody's left to use it. An actual costly ult to lose, and now they're throwing out the Dragon Strike too. Mocha coming back in, manages to get physics down. 10 seconds left. T1W has to hold tight here if they want this to be where it ends.
They should totally have this. There's the point capture, but T1W certainly making them pay for FFF certainly making them pay for every inch of that. Now though, T1W, FFF have the quick spawn, so those little staggers don't matter too much. We shouldn't snowball here.
They're making
but man, someone swapped the angry magnetic eyebrows on the Hetlot because he went crazy in that fight. 4 kills on the Orisa, really establishing that high ground control well and being that anchor for the team.
Deadeye used from Akite will at least get them space to get onto the point, throw down the amplification matrix. Bob melted as a result, getting on 2-1, but Top Dragon and V's on the point don't care about what's happening with Night God. They do manage to come around, get a kill onto Top Dragon, but everybody's gone from T1W. They've got to reconvene and hope that they can get another fight. They're running out of time with 2:08 left.
Yeah, 2 minutes left, and remember, if you're not winning that fight clean, you're not winning that fight at all. That was a nice little tech for Mocha. Man, Wrecking Ball players are just insane. They're like, they're in that sort of like Doomfist style where it's like, I didn't know the physics of the game worked that way. And they go, yeah, I just kind of figured that out because I was bored. Shades of Omlung there, let's say. Top Dragon here with the Dragon Strike, but really the only tool FFF have to work with. You see V's now on the McCree. Meanwhile, Night God and Headlock could combine for a pretty spicy combo there, and if this fight goes long, Raindrop should build that sound barrier too. So I think T1W kind of want a longer engaged fight, but they also only have 90 seconds left, so they gotta be smart.
And Night God got spotted out, so they know that, but Night God still gets the kill onto BLX. It didn't even matter. And now he can teleport onto the high ground, get aggressive with the supercharger getting thrown down by Hetlot. BLX res back into the fight, but has to stay alive. The Death Blossom used to force the supports away. Doesn't get anything for it, more just zones, but they're close to taking this point. Only need a little bit more percentage, and they are able to get it. Their ultimates work out that time, and they had a sound barrier just in case.
There you go. Like I said, that longer fight. Yeah, take that full 90 seconds, but if you get more ultimates, including that sound barrier especially, by the end of it, totally worth it to take your time. The time bake difference is significant, minute 36 seconds there. But even so, it looks like T1W are starting to kind of regain themselves, get their composure back, say, hey, whoa. That was, we kind of got thrown off guard there, but we still know the kind of game we want to play. We still know how we want to approach this. Akita started hitting his shots there at the end. The only reason Night God's Death Blossom didn't get much is because Akita basically just stole those kills and dinked everybody in the hall, leaving Night God just kind of spinning there like John Travolta, but with shotguns. I don't know how that works. Now, though, T1W mounting another attack, going for Hanzo Ash again. Hetla on the Wrecking Ball. FFF had the answer to this at the start of their defense last time, but maybe something changes up a little bit. Physics on the Ana is something for sure. But, this could still be a little rough for T1W given this time bank. They don't have a lot of attempts with just 1 minute on the clock.
Well, we saw Top Dragon and V's be the difference makers, and now you have T1W having their DPS carries play on those same heroes. So they're mirroring in that sense. One side just has the Ana, wants to be able to use those anti-nades to maybe get some great effects. And now you will have a battle of teams poking out at each other with Wrecking Balls, sort of just wreaking havoc when they can. So we'll have the high ground battle happen here, one team on one side, and T1W on the side that we're closest to looking at. Have to be careful of Mocha, though, looking to try and get something. 27 seconds left. Players getting low on the side of T1W. They're starting to get a little bit more aggressive, but physics gets lost at the beginning. There's so much more healing on the other side. Immortality Field gets burned, but BLX stays in the fight. They do get the res off onto physics to get the Ana back in. Dynamite doing damage on either side, but the shot on the raindrop from V's has to try and stay in, but Night God gets the kill. Akine gets knocked off. Night God with another kill with the storm arrows. Jasper on the point. Mocha trying to stall as they're trying to regain themselves for first fabulous fighter. T1W, though, don't want to have another map be given away. They get off the point. Pushed off by Mocha. Didn't matter if they had reinforcements or not. We don't get to see how it turns out. First fabulous fighter set up a great win condition on this map.
And like I pointed out, right, on the first defense, FFF knew exactly what T1W were trying to do and how they wanted to do it. And yeah, you saw a couple little adaptations for T1W, but with physics going down early and Raindrop needing to rush over there, use the resurrection, and then kind of have both the supports clumped up on this nice long sight line for Vs to just start hitting shots. There was nothing T1W could do there. They were so split. Their healing was not where it needed to be because of that early death, and FFF knew exactly how to capitalize on that. So now suddenly a commanding win condition for FFF. They just need a tick. They have 2 minutes 36 on the clock to make it happen. I've seen crazier holds, but statistically, this is going to go FFF's way. I'm going to call that right now and see if I curse them. Sorry if I do. But looking at this, it's hard to see what we've seen on Volskaya so far and not say FFF have this in the bag right now.
The other thing to think about for this, too, is like T1W, if they had played this sort of composition earlier, maybe they would have had a better chance. They're going to play it on their defense. They're going to do the Ashe and the Hanzo, so trying to match Top Dragon and V's once again. But we saw how that went on their attack. Top Dragon and V's, they don't care if you're playing the same heroes as them. They're still going to be able to out-mechanic you.
Yeah, they just want to win the 1v1 straight up. Like, mirror us all you like. It doesn't matter. We're still going to hit the shots. They're feeling that level of confidence right now, and it's hard to blame them after the Volskaya they've had. Mocha here on the flank, looking to disrupt, and what a great displacement there.
Throws those players down onto the ground. Nobody falls off the map, which is good for T1W, but you're so out of position. Night God can do nothing when there's so many players there. And now First Fabulous Fighter just slowly strangling out everything from T1W on this defense, who can do nothing but watch their players fall. V's with another elimination. BLX, the support, getting in on the action as well. They can't even get to the point. And First Fabulous Fighter starts their comeback with a win on Volskaya Industries to take this to 2-1. Not quite the closeout that T1W was hoping for. They've got to try on another map, but it is their map choice.
Hey, reverse sweep starts now. I don't know. This is wild because right, yeah, and just like we said at the start of this map, T1W looks so good those first two games, but you can't let off the gas. That is how reverse sweeps happen. You get complacent, you give up a map, and you think, it's okay, and then suddenly that's two maps, and then maybe there's a draw in there somewhere if we're getting real crazy with it. But it's so easy to suddenly find yourself totally on the back foot, totally scrambling for an answer, mentally boomed and confused. And T1W cannot let that happen again. If they get double reverse swept to get knocked out of this knockout stage, that would be disastrous for them. I don't know mentally how you recover from something like that, but these guys are the professionals, so you know we'll see how that goes.
Some good highlights though that we get to see. Here's that bob play from V's, and just
Nasty.
when they're in the air like that, I mean, shooting fish in a barrel is pretty much what it is. Ski shooting, whatever you want
Yeah,
to say. It's
clay
all the same,
pigeons.
right? Clay
Yeah,
pigeons, right?
absolutely. Yeah, that was just a nasty play, and you could tell again that's Mocha and this front line and the DPS coordinating so well,
Yeah.
knowing like I know exactly where to go. I'm gonna call out when I'm gonna go there, and you guys are all gonna be ready. And they go, yes, chef, and that plate comes sliding down the counter. So great stuff from FFF there to hopefully stay alive in this map at least a little bit longer.
Well, they looked really good, and now you have questions, right? Because T1W did struggle mightily against the composition that we saw FFF play there with the Ash and the Hanzo. So obviously, now it's about how are you going to counter that on the other side if you're T1W. What is the evolution of T1W? Have you learned from your mistakes against Team Chaser where you got reverse swept as well? That's what we need to see here. Do they evolve from this young roster, newly put together just for this season of Contenders in 2021? They are what you're pinning your hopes on for T1W, and now this is when you need to see them take that next step when we get into that next map. So for T1W, they're going to pick the map of Nimbani. And it seems like this is a map where you can kind of play that Ash and Hanzo quite a bit.
Yeah, you can do a lot on Numbani, honestly. Like it has that same sort of first point setup with high ground on all sides, plenty of open options there for a Mercy Pocket and some long range hit scan. Hanzo as well, Echo, plenty of open skyline for an Echo to be flying around.
True.
We see Night God showing that early, though of course they are the attacking team. They could change anything. I don't think we're going to see Hetla on the Roadhog, but also I'd be
Never
down.
say never.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would
I
actually
just kind of
love
want
to see that.
Please.
That would be, yeah, like Roadhog is fun to watch. Getting one hook shot comboed, maybe not as much fun when you're on the direct receiving end, but like watching it happen, that's pretty hype.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. There was a player once, a moon man, who used to play that pick in particular quite a bit.
Yes.
And just
Yes.
reminiscing, but we should reminisce no more because we now have the future in front of us. T1W trying to finish this off. Match point for them. First Fabulous Fighter, still fighting for their playoff lives. They lose here and they go home. They are going to play the Echo for Night God for T1W, and you do have that same composition that First Fabulous Fighter found success on for their defensive hold, and similar principles can be used here. Bees on an angle, shooting in onto the Diva on the other side, and Jasper, who is getting healed up just fine. Top Dragon playing that other angle, nice dynamite to get onto Night God, slows things down, and T1W, they're just poking away, but they're not getting a whole lot of success yet. Bees now just backs away, stays up, and a lot of figuring this out, and Night God finally will make the difference, getting a elimination onto Mocha. Some help here with physics, throwing that amplification matrix out to keep people away.
Yeah, tons of just kind of like figuring out angles, figuring out who's pushing where. V's getting some great initial poke and kind of deterrence there with his dynamites, but way too much pressure once T1W kind of have that upper hand and start moving forward towards the point and establishing their angles. Top Dragon, though, coming back with a kill on the Hetlot. Akita answering back, it's super trading, who knows?
Trading out on either side, but trades are going to benefit the attacking team at this point with how close they are to finishing the point. There they do. They open it up, and T1W, methodically, smart play, gets them to open this one up. They will now have a chance to push this card.
Yeah, really intelligent, just patient sort of play. Methodical, not necessarily slow, just looking for exactly the right opportunity. T1W also now swapping their their support lineup, kind of trying to figure it out. Raindrop was on the Brigida there for a little bit and then decided, no, I actually think that Mercy would keep doing us pretty well with what we're trying to run. FFF with some recontest tools, especially with that opening pick. Bob comes out straight onto point. Let's see what they can do.
Losing the battle in the neutral, then throw the Bob out to help out for first Fabulous Fighter. Gravitic Flux pulls those players in. Riven gets some help to finish them off. And it's a pretty quick stop here. And now you have the potential for 3 stagger eliminations too, because you have players stuck between a rock and a hard place for T1W.
You do, but these guys that are stuck, I was going to say, they could still fight back, but no, they don't. They do not do that. They actually just get mowed down here in a back alley. What a way to go. T1W at least have a lot of tools here, right? Like 4 ultimates coming online, a Bob of their own, that duplicate, which can be so deadly and so flexible, plus the added damage potential from that supercharger. We could get some nasty combos to get them through Streets phase, but they need to have a decisive fight win. Streets can be such a difficult point to push through, and BLX already opening up with 2 big kills.
The self-destruct from Jasper doesn't get over the bus, and they were already behind in the fight, and now it continues to snowball over to first Fabulous Fighter, so T1W have to regroup, and this cart getting stuck. You know, the first half of this is where it's difficult to push, but if you get past this first half, it opens up for T1W.
Right, and I like these swaps now especially. I think this is exactly what they need to be doing. Swapping over to that double bubble, allowing you way more engage potential, especially comboed with the nano boost. Building up a good Graviton a little later in this fight. This opens up so many options for T1W to get through the Streets phase. Oh, goodness gracious, that is just disgusting.
Obliteration with the help of the focusing beam for Night God. Stuck in a small room, but it's like, hey, I have an ultimate. I can be in this room, but not for long. Great combined effort from first Fabulous Fighter to get themselves back into it, and now they can aggress back out and stop T1W dead in their tracks.
Yeah, they forced out a lot of good tools from T1W in the process as well. Not too much. The tanks are still about halfway through because they just swapped, obviously. But in the process of that fight, I feel like they took a bunch of time and really like made T1W feel like they maybe had an opening and then totally shut that door. Night God committing that duplicate because he thought he could clutch, and then suddenly the peel was there and he could do nothing. He got nothing done because of that Dragon Strike and because of the peel, and now they're just trying to find an answer, but are not going to find it this fight because you already have 2 picks down.
They're already down to under 2 minutes as well. They did have a lot of time on the clock at the very least. See everybody jump off the map there, did not give any more ult charge over the first Fabulous Fighter, who, by the way, still in control as far as ultimates are concerned.
Right, yeah, the Ant Matrix will open up a lot of windows, especially for your DPS players who are close to their ultimates in turn. Top Dragon will probably build it in literally the next shot he's about to shoot. Meanwhile, T1W, like, they've got a Bob, they're close to the Nano, they're close to their tank ultimates, but not a lot of time. Like, they're going to need to use all of this 75 seconds or so to make those tools happen.
They clear out a lot of the mines thanks to the dynamite from Akide, so that at least takes care of one ultimate that they had to deal with for T1W. But Raindrop going down to the Storm Arrows to Top Dragon, who then throws the Dragon Strike out. But they even it back up for T1W. The Bob and Night God making a difference. Focusing beam onto Riven. And now you are in a position where you can maybe take this for T1W. This is the similar spot where they were stopped before when they were playing Team Chaser. Graviton Surge, they want to make sure that they get through it this time, but they've got to deal with the Bob on the cart. Hetlot going down with the help of that Bob, and now you've got the support back in. The tanks can stall this out for first Fabulous Fighter, and they are actually pretty close. And the flank from V's gets the kill onto Akide. They can't deal. Doesn't matter about the anti-nade because V's can just walk away. There's no pressure.
No, and that grab, it was, you could tell, right? Like, they absolutely just, we need to make this capture happen. There's no reason we can't make this happen, but that Bob was clutch, and the bomb coming through, it gets one. The remake onto V's. Night God coming up clutch when his team needs it.
Not quite the 11th hour, but pretty darn close to it for T1W. Get that cart through, and now they will see the final part of the map, this time on Numbani. Didn't have the same luck when they were playing against Team Tracer.
No, and not a ton to work with for either side. Getting close to a couple ultimates, T1W close to that grav, and those support ultimates are coming up too. The Nano engage could be pretty good, but they want to try and force out whatever they can from FFF first to make sure this fight is clean. There's a minute on the clock.
They're going to use one of their ultimates first, use the Nano Boost onto Night God, who unfortunately just could not do anything with it. It was more just to keep Night God in the fight. Bob slept behind, though, and they can avoid that. And now they get Akide down. Mistake made on the side of First Fabulous Fighter. Massive grab coming through from Jasper, and Akide takes advantage.
This is just like the that last fight really there on the second point, right? Like, you need a long fight to start building up these ultimates. You're not that far ahead in those terms. FFF coming out with anything they can. That Valkyrie coming out, and Kama already pretty low.
Many players low. They're going to throw out the mines onto the card. Akide just hoping somebody comes in view of that Deadeye. Gets the double kill. 2 players, gets a third with the revolver. And now just 1 player on the cart, and Riven, they finish with 2.8 seconds on the clock for T1W. Huge that they finish before overtime.
You could say that was pretty close. I think you could say that was pretty close. Wow, that Deadeye especially, I did not expect that. In the very last second, you could just tell, right, that they thought they were safe. They thought that Deadeye was done. They were counting. Everyone knows how long all the abilities last at this point, at this level, right? You know that Infrasight is X amount of seconds long. You know that Deadeye is X amount of seconds long. So you could tell they're sitting behind the cart and they're going, okay, 3, 2, we should be good. And then they ran out from the cart and they were not
good.
They were off by about 1.5 seconds, and that's all Akide needed to suddenly turn around and kill half the team and bring that fight to an explosive conclusion. Again, with 2.8 seconds left, that gives them an opening now, a time bank opening to prevent this from being a draw.
Chance at revenge. Just need to stop the cart before it reaches the end. That's all they have to do for T1W. For First Fabulous Fighter, you want to keep your hopes alive. You've got to have a strong push, finish with a bigger time bank than what T1W ended up with. And in 2.8 seconds, I mean, you should be able to do that if you can complete this map. But it's still a tall order for them. They want to win this. They want to jump T1W as far as points, or at least get close. And
yeah,
they got a lot riding on this.
Absolutely. Yeah, the farther up you go, the more points you get, and they need to build that buffer because FFF is not one of those teams that has consistently been placing really high and racking up those points. They need this extra boost as we get closer to the end of season playoffs. So they are fighting for not just their lives in this knockout stage, but also their chances in playoffs and the rest of the season overall. So much riding on this game for FFF.
And with teams like Team Chaser and Billy waiting at the higher seeds, you want to get as high of a seed as possible. Top Dragon and V's, that's a good start to get your hopes alive. And V's just dominating on the Ashe, being boosted by the Mercy. I think that was 4 or 5 for V's.
Yeah, that was just dominance. That was such a great rotation coming out from FFF because they knew exactly how T1W were going to run things, running that double bubble, expecting more of what they had seen on T1W's attack, and they just knew exactly how they needed to approach that to make sure that they could mitigate the effectiveness of that composition and get value with their own. Give V's those openings that he needs, that he had on Volskaya. Approach it like you approached Volskaya first. Give him the resources and just let him run. And him and Top Dragon, between the two of them, if you give them those resources, this map will be over real fast.
So far, it's going really quick. Top Dragon already with an ultimate throws it out to keep those players back for T1W. They can't even mount a defense yet on the streets phase of Nambani.
Yeah, and you don't get a lot of chances to establish a defense like this. And already Jasper barely making it out alive. The Nano Boost actually has to come out to make that happen. The Immortality Field here just to keep Riven up, and that goes on. And V's with another kill on Akide.
Continually winning the 1v1 versus Akide. And now Top Dragon taking Physics down. This is pure domination on this map from First Fabulous Fighter.
Look at that time bank. 5:50 on the clock. You think maybe they can get a better time bank than 2.8 seconds with that?
You would hope.
You would hope, wouldn't you? We've seen
would hope.
worse. We've seen some crazy holds, so I guess I shouldn't say that too.
Yeah, don't count your chickens yet, right?
Yeah, we've seen, you know, Runaway on Horizon Lunar Colony. Here's a throwback for the Tier 2 supporters.
Man.
With that like 6-minute hold on first, that was disgusting, and that could totally still happen. But with Top Dragon getting that opening pick, we'll see.
But Night God has switched over to the Echo, so that could help make a difference if they can keep this going. Bob out to stall things down. Riven will finish that one off, but T1W stalling long enough for Night God to be back into this. Gravitic Flux pulling players up. Graviton Surge used. Night God making the difference for T1W on the Echo. 3 kills in a row, 2 of them from the sticky bombs.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a grav like that gets 3 or 4 people in it, and then you just throw a packet of explosives at their face, you know, some things might happen.
Yeah.
You know, these things just happen, everyone. Now Night God coming up already with a duplication, comboed easily with a nano boost if they so choose, or you could give that to Hetlot on the Winston, or Akira on the McCree, or Jasper. Like, so many options, right? So many options to help build up ultimates or increase the effectiveness of very already effective heroes. FFF coming in just trying to establish a good sustained fight first.
Well, the nano boost doing all the work in combination with Night God coming in with the focusing beam. Bob coming out, but that's going to be a wasted all. I think Bob just went off the map. He might have, he's in behind. It doesn't even matter. Yeah. Top Dragon does at least equalize things a little bit, but they can back away for T1W, wait for their reinforcements. They don't have to hurry. It's all about wasting as much time as possible. Re-engage coming through. Top Dragon has to try and back away. Primal Rage from Hetlot, too much for them to handle, and throwing players away. Hetlot gets all the use out of his ultimate.
And like you said, there's so much time and so much space for T1W to play patiently. Yes, they're on the defense, and yes, that time bank is working against them, but they also know, like, hey, we need to burn the clock, play this safe, don't get crazy. They're happy to kind of back up, disengage, and then go for the quick re-engage. Keep an eye on ultimates and cooldowns that are coming through. They have to play a mindful game. They have to kind of take that breath, find the eye of the hurricane, and survive. Otherwise, this series is going to get out of their hands very quickly.
Well, this might be where the eye of the hurricane is. It's make or break time for both of these teams. BLX gets the elimination onto Jasper at the beginning. So a good start. The cart will move, but they're stalling. They can't get to him. They've either got to push in or wait. They know that they're waiting for Jasper. They finally go in. They get physics. Akide as well. Riven will use the ultimate here, but Hetlot coming back in gets a kill onto Kama. Graviton Surge on the cart clears it off. Top Dragon trying to make the difference. Gravitic Flux pulls multiple in. They can't get to the cart though. 3:36 on the clock for first Fabulous Fighter.
Yep, Riven with the great Sig9, I believe they call it, forcing members of T1W off of that cart, making sure it can get through. 2 minutes 36 difference there. 2 minutes 36 is also the amount of time they had to attack after their first round on Volskaya. That's serendipitous. And again, FFF looking, you know, like, sure, it wasn't the 6-minute time bank they started that last phase with, but getting through that over the course of 3 or 4 fights where they just take it slow, build things up, get a couple picks here and there. They're still playing the game they want to play and the composition that they want to be playing. They seem so much more comfortable on this style than they did in those first 2 maps where T1W totally had the download. This is suddenly a much more even series.
They also did make one small swap. They did end up having the McCree there for first Fabulous Fighter, but just for that final point. Makes sense with what they were trying to do. Get a little bit more pressure on the Echo. And now we get to see them on defense first again. And T1W, the last time they were in this situation on Volskaya, we know it didn't go very well for them. They are switching things up again, it looks like, though, for their comp.
Yes, yeah, a little more, a couple more swaps, more of kind of what we've seen them try here and there, more of the Echo McCree here on this attack for T1W, the Mercy Ana. They want to have those high-powered forward engages, the decisive fight win that they need with 45 seconds already on the clock. You don't have a ton of time. You need to make your one engage really, really count.
I'm being very patient with it, though. Already about half the time is gone. You can see Night God going away from where his team is. They're all going to jump onto that high ground right where Riven is, forcing out the Immortality Field. Players extremely low. Hetlock getting low, too, on the other side. Not able to get the shot to finish him off. We go back into a neutral state. Top Dragon still on the high ground looking for something. It's going to be V's, though, who strikes Pater first for first Fabulous Fighter. But there's still a chance for T1W. You can see they're waiting for as long as they can.
Yeah, you need to just maximize the amount of support that you can get, the number of people you can get towards the point. A nice eat there, saving that dynamite. That was pretty clutch. And the nano engage coming in onto Top Dragon.
Top Dragon going down. They get the sticky bombs kill on Nakama as well. V's will answer back onto Akide, but is it going to be enough? Another kill coming through for Hetlot. They're starting to do it for T1W. V's, the one left alive, gets one kill. Mocha trying to get back in on the ball. Stalls it out for a moment. V's with another kill.
V's,
has the
on.
bob and can throw it out onto the point. Doesn't quite get there, but will be able to stall out. V's
know.
again. V's, what are you doing? Able to keep this going for first Fabulous Fighter.
God.
What is this?
This is insanity. This is V's. What did he just do? What was that? That was disgusting. And you can tell that they underestimated him in that key moment. They all went, it's just the Ash. Let's go clean it up. We got this point. And then he said, no way, dude. That is not how this goes. That is not how this story ends, my friends. And suddenly, instead of that full point capture and a beginning push onto Streets phase, however far you get there, that is 71.3% on the point. So all FFF need to bring this to a map 5 is 71.4% on that first point, and they have 3.5 minutes to do it. Wild stuff.
3 minutes and 36 seconds. They needed like 30 seconds to do it on offense last time.
Right, yeah.
So you have to have something monumental from T1W to not have this go to a map 5. For first Fabulous Fighter, though, this is everything that you wanted to have happen to get yourselves back into this and have that reverse sweep chance. Keep yourself in these playoffs.
Right, and you see Raindrop here on the Brigida now, not the Mercy, looking to provide a little extra protection perhaps to the backline, to Akide and Physics, depending on where he wants to rotate. Jasper, meanwhile, over on the Diva, supporting Hetlot, not going for a double bubble, probably wants to eat up all the spam that they know is going to be coming through. The pocketed Ash, the Hanzo, they need that absorption and mitigation. Otherwise, FFF could totally just run them over again.
Mocha going to just go on to the point, show himself, going around, slowly but surely working his way up to the high ground. T1W being patient, waiting for that dive to come through from Mocha, who probably going to look to take players off. Top Dragon, though, will fall first. Night God initiating on the Echo. Hetlock jumping in, gets BLX, and now the Wrecking Ball coming through. Raindrop will be dropped by Top Dragon, but there's a nice dynamite to ensure that that Hanzo can't control the high ground, but there's a couple of picks. If they hurry back, first Fabulous Fighter has a chance.
They do, but it's looking like T1W are able to stabilize well enough. They're healing up, they're playing this smart, they don't want to overextend at all. They know that that margin for error is so slim, and they're playing certainly not scared, but certainly cautious, which is exactly what they need to be doing. But this engage coming through too. Pop on the primal, they know when they need to flip the switch.
Oh, and it's a beautiful use of the nano boost onto Hetlot, and then Night God just doing the work on the other end. Still some time, though, available. Nice stagger at the end. 2 minutes and 16 seconds. You can't be too patient if you're first Fabulous Fighter.
No, like you said, it's very easy for that 2 minutes to just evaporate, and then suddenly you have no time, and you're scared and worried and everything like that. T1W maintaining a really stout offense so far. Not a ton of tools to work with on this next fight, and FFF might have a bit of advantage. Look at both of those tank ults, the support ults coming up quick, as well as that Bob. Meanwhile, Night God just with the duplicate, the one man to stand in their way.
It can be the thing that makes the difference. Bob will go onto the point, though. Pressure coming already. Akane goes down to Top Dragon at the beginning, so you lose the pressure from the Ana. Trying to stall on the point is Hetlot for as long as possible, but it's not going their way. First Fabulous Fighter wants to take us to a map number 5.
It looks like they're getting awful close. There's still some contention on the point. Nope, there goes Jasper. Smush. Raindrop with the kill onto Riven, but man, this is looking... There it goes.
And there it is.
Man, you almost never want to call those just in case, but that one looked pretty over as soon as Jasper got absolutely squished. Rest in peace. And now we're going to map 5. Oh, this is ridiculous. T1W are... If I'm them, I'm worried. I'm like, no. We can't let this happen again. We cannot do this again. T1W have to shape up. They cannot let these openings happen. FFF have proven that they can make anything out of what you give them.
This is where like you have to think about what do we have in T1W? What are they going to do in this sort of situation? They're a very young team, very new together. How do they respond now that they are back into a spot where they can potentially be reverse swept again? I mean, you can see some of the great plays that we've seen from the DPS on the side of First Fabulous Fighter, V's, Top Dragon. It's not just those two either. Mocha and Riven have been lights out, stellar, with great reses, playing the Mercy, using the boost to keep V's up. It's been very good team play from them. BLX as well, doing a lot on the Baptiste mainly, and the Anna sometimes too. So it has been a full team effort to get them back to this point where we're tied up 2-2. But T1W is still the team that gets to pick the final map. It's their choice where we go for map number 5.
Right, and it is Control, which they won pretty handily to start the series out. So when you think of that in terms of game modes, you think, well, maybe T1W has a bit of an advantage. They look pretty good on Control, this, that, or the other. But you also have to think about momentum. You have to think about the mental that these guys are dealing with right now, the stress of what could be another reverse sweep, and the pressure knowing you can't let that happen. So much is on the line. Points for playoffs, your position in this knockout. There's a lot of pressure for both of these teams right now. So who's going to crack? It's not even just, okay, who should win or not. It's who's going to crack under this pressure right now.
Well, you can see that T1W is thinking about the maps, and to me, this makes the most sense that this would be the map that they're going to. Lijiang Tower is where we will be. When you think about it, for what they want to play and what you're seeing from First Fabulous Fighter, where do they have the most problems playing the Ashe and the Hanzo? I feel like this is a map that fits well with what T1W wants to do.
Absolutely. It enables the compositions they like to run and mitigates the effectiveness of compositions that FFF like to run. So that the Ashe Hanzo long range, long sightlines style will not work here, especially on Control Center. Meanwhile, T1W, they could show us the Mei that we saw over on Nepal again, but they could also show us more of the Reaper and Echo that we kind of consider to be the air quotes meta right now. And they looked better on that matchup when FFF were forced to play it. So this could be an opening for them, but it is by no means guaranteed.
Survive and advance for both of these teams. One last map to figure out who will move on to face Team Chaser in the losers finals. Bees getting behind that ice wall, trying to right-click through. They get out the immortality field of physics. They still haven't been able to get onto anybody. Hetlot extremely low. Good save made by Jasper to keep him up. The walls have been splitting players off, but nobody falling yet for First Fabulous Fighter. T1W, the players on the point. Jasper on the high ground trying to control, but Takide, who will be the first one to hit and fall to Mocha, and now they have to back up for T1W.
Oh no, you know what I just remembered? Never mind, they're re-engaging already. I'll talk about that later, but man.
Ultimate's making a difference now for T1W. That fight was so long, they built up so much, they knew they had a chance. They only give up 16% to First Fabulous Fighter.
Yeah, the swap comes through pretty quick. What I just remembered, if FFF wins, Door is going to be insufferable. What are we going to do, Lobo? This is so close. I have no idea. There is no clear favorite anymore. After those first two maps, sure, you could say T1W looked fantastic. But ever since, FFF have flipped and switched.
And now they tried to flip it even more. Night God going to the first one down, but the Blizzard got out beforehand, works its wonders, and now you have T1W in a prime position. Not many alts had to be used for FFF though, so they are still okay as far as the alt economy is concerned.
Yeah, this is still very early in the round, and they have a lot of tools to work with. 5 ultimates coming online. T1W close to a few. That sound barrier especially will be really clutch, especially to counter out probably either the Death Blossom or the Flux.
Well, they're going to have the Gravitic Flux come out first, healed up well thanks to the Supercharger being thrown down, and you still have that Baptiste for all the healing. Counter Gravitic Flux forces out the Sound Barrier, Death Blossom in, Sound Barrier to counter, Kide goes down. They lose one, advantage over to First Fabulous Fighter, but only for so long. Players are so low on the side of FFF. V's making a difference, a 2K to get First Fabulous Fighter back out in front in the fight, but 72% already built up for T1W.
And climbing still. They need to cap it here. That'll be 77% to 16. Not, one long fight basically if the point flips over again, or one chance to recontest if they're speedy about it. FFF have the tools to keep this going for a little bit. That Deadeye to provide some zoning and some kill potential because it's V's. Mocha just to amp up the whole team, and Riven close to that Flux too.
Oh, nice halt with the wall to get the kill onto BLX. A lot of healing gone for First Fabulous Fighter. Advantage back over to T1W. They have to be careful. There is the Supercharger down. Gravitic Flux used in conjoined with the Deadeye. Not going to get anything with either of those. And now it's the Blizzard coming back through for T1W. And the Blizzards have been spot on from Night God.
T1W are so good at just sprinting into your face. Raindrop is making those engages happen so cleanly, and the help from Night God and Hetlot, like you said, this is a whole team effort composition. They need to coordinate together to make the plays they want happen. And so far, they're doing a fantastic job. FFF in these fights are being completely caught off guard.
Oh, and the Deadeye gets a kill on Akama, who was through on the other side of the wall. Top Dragon tried to get through using the Wraith Walk. Doesn't get to the point, though. 97% Supercharger they're going to have to go through. And there's the May Wall blocking them off.
That's it.
T1W takes the first point.
Wow. Okay. I need to see where we go next, though, because that will really, really decide, in my eyes, who I think is going to be taking this. So many different compositional options between Garden and Night Market.
Oh, it's
very
Night Market.
Interesting. This opens up a lot of space. There's this whole open courtyard, so FFF could kind of see about swapping back to that long-range sort of style. But you also need to be able to have some presence on the point. Maybe the Wrecking Ball will be enough for that. Maybe the Sigma will be enough for that. But you see already these guys playing that rock, paper, scissors, trying to figure out, okay, what are they going to run? What do we want to run? What's going to work here? We need to make this happen. Both teams with so much on the line, so much pressure. And you see FFF swapping back to the composition that was doing so well for them.
Win and you move on. That's what it's all about. You need to win to tie this up for First Fabulous Fighter to even have a chance to win on this map. Can't have any mistakes happen. And it's not a good start when Top Dragon's the first one to go down and T1W can smell the blood in the water.
Oh yeah, they can. They love making those last super clutch, super fast engages, catching people just the right pixel out of place. You saw their BLX trying to drop that immortality field, just getting caught out, but Kama gets the res. Hetlot answers back though and gets ripped.
So Riven down, T1W with a big advantage. You're starting to build up to some ultimates too. Night God pretty out in front. V's though, still dealing a lot of damage on the Ashe.
Yeah, for an Ashe to keep up with an Echo whose ultimate has not been nerfed yet because that just went live today, that's pretty impressive. Actually staying ahead. Physics, meanwhile, getting that kill onto Mocha completely stalls this attempt for FFF.
Going to have to wait, but they can't wait for long. Already up to 34% for T1W. Have the Storm Arrows coming through from Top Dragon, but so far this Ashe and this Hanzo having a lot of problems on this point, but now they have the Bob to go in with. Amplification Matrix coming through to counter the Bob, gets melted down, but Mocha's able to get a double kill, swinging with that Wrecking Ball, knocking two players off, and then punches into Akide for the 3K to get this back in favor of First Fabulous Fighter.
Still a little stall, but down it goes. Yeah, that is why you bring the Wrecking Ball to Night Market, because at the end of the day, you are surrounded by cliffs, and what's better for knocking people around than a Wrecking Ball, right? So much potential here to just get in a cheeky little spot, take someone out, one or two people out, and effectively just win the fight off of that. No ultimates needed, no cooldowns needed, nothing. Now FFF establishing control on the point, tons of ultimates to combo with here. T1W close to a couple, they've got a couple. Okay, and just an opening pick like that completely negates any ultimate discussion. That is exactly what you need.
You got to get the res off, but you lose Mocha too. They had so many ultimates. They try to get the res off, and that doesn't come through either. This is T1W being dominant to come back in. You use the Dragon Strike, but there's an Immortality Field waiting. T1W makes the flip, only 36% gain for first Fabulous Fighter. We're entering into last fight territory.
FF starting to feel the pressure, maybe saying, how we can clutch this, I have Flux, you have Dragon, but there were too many cooldowns still up for T1W for either of those to be effective. So you think you can bring those things back, but you have to think smart. You can't just let the momentum of the heat of the moment take you away. You have to play smart here.
Well, smart thing to do, come in with those mines at the beginning. An accretion rock kill onto Night God forces out the res at the beginning. Still even 6v6, but it's all about the ultimates. 93%. They actually flipped the point over to first Fabulous Fighter. Graphitic Flux pulling players in. T1W starting to turn it back around. Accretion kill for Jasper. Sucks in more with the kinetic grass. The flip going to come through any moment for T1W. 4%. Somebody has to get to the point for first Fabulous Fighter. 99. They can't get there. T1W, they dropped 2 maps, but they won't be reverse swept again. They will move on and have their chance at revenge.
Let it be known that no one reverse sweeps T1W twice in a row, I guess. I mean, wow. What a game all the way through. I think a lot of people maybe predicted like, this one might be a little one-sided. We consider FFF to be like our dark horse candidate, the 4th seed coming into this, 2 and out. So be it. But they certainly went down kicking and screaming. They said, T1W, we're going to make you relive your worst fears from yesterday, and you're just going to have to face those, and we'll see what happens. T1W, though, facing those demons happily, maybe not happily. They probably wanted to just 3-0 that and get it over with, but still overcoming, what was probably mentally very stressful. Just the thought of like, oh no, we don't want to get reverse swept twice. But coming on to Lijiang Tower, playing lights out, super clean on that last stage, even with FFF playing kind of their composition, the composition that they felt most comfortable with. They said, it doesn't matter here, it doesn't matter now, we are ending this. So GG, because wow, that was a banger.
They keep themselves alive. That's the most important part. And I think we're seeing them slowly evolve in front of our eyes. They still have a long way to go, clearly, but they are a team that is growing a ton here in these playoff series against teams that we expect to do better than them, right? Like we expect so much from Team Chaser and from Bilibili, and the fact that they've now gotten back to that point where they can try and get revenge is huge for them. But I think you're right about first Fabulous Fighter. I mean, they found what worked for them. They went kicking and screaming, like you said, and made this a fun way to end day number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could ask for much more out of a match. Maybe an extra couple maps, but at the same time, I'm good. I think I'm okay. The 5 maps was enough. That felt satisfying. I'm full, like if I eat any more, I'm going to be too full. You know that feeling? Like that's where I'm at with this game. Just the right amount of full. And wow, just that was insane. So back and forth.
Yep. And you can see the schedule here from today. 3-0 for Bilibili over Team Chaser, 3-2 T1W, and then over First Fabulous Fighter. And now we can look at the bracket once again, and you can see Bilibili awaiting the winner for Team Chaser and T1W. And don't forget, Grand Finals, first to 4. So we get some extra Overwatch for the Grand Finals in this knockout stage. So be sure to pay attention because those are going to be some good games between Team Chaser and T1W. And whoever ends up facing Bilibili, I can't wait.
I say good luck. Bilibili are still looking disgustingly good. And as mentioned, we see the schedule here. Team Chaser going up against T1W, and then someone is facing the juggernaut at the end of that. Either Team Chaser gets a chance for a rematch, or T1W claw their way from the lower bracket after almost getting knocked out by FFF.
Yeah.
Either one sounds like a fantastic story to me. I cannot wait for this.
So we did have the three teams we expected at this point, but my gosh, it was a fight to get to here with these three being the final three. You saw the schedule for tomorrow. I can't wait to watch those games tomorrow, but I think that's going to do it here for us. Thibble, any final thoughts?
I'm not last in predictions anymore. Let's go. I can't wait for that to probably change like tomorrow, but you know, it happens. I'll dig my way out of the hole one door at a time, and that'll be just fine with me, especially if the games keep playing like this, because man.
Yeah, they've been good games. I don't gain any ground on the people at the top, but hey, I think I did okay today. Got both picks correct, so I'm happy with how I went. But regardless of that, forget our picks because that's
Yeah.
just for fun.
Yeah.
The games have been the most exciting part about everything, and we've got more tomorrow. So be sure, back same time that you were here today, be there tomorrow for those final two games. And that's going to do it for us, though. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks to Evie behind the scenes making everything happen. Thanks to my partner Thibble, and thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.